I was brushing my teeth when she stormed into the bathroom, not my wife, but her mother. "Nick," she barked, arms crossed, eyes sharp like glass. "You've got 1 hour to pack and leave." I paused mid-stroke, the foam hanging off my lip. "Excuse me." She didn't blink. "My daughter doesn't like you anymore. She wants you out. And if you're still here in an hour, your luggage is going on the curb." No warning. No explanation. Just that. And the worst part? My wife, Haley, was standing behind her mother, arms folded, silent, wearing that smug little smile I'd started to notice more often lately. I should have said something then. Yelled. Demanded answers. But I didn't. I wiped my mouth, walked back into the bedroom I paid for, and began folding my clothes like a guest overstaying his welcome. Haley didn't say a word. Not a damn word. She watched me pack as if I were the dog who'd pissed on her rug one too many times. I saw it then, in the way her lip curled. That look of triumph. Of someone who already had a replacement waiting in the wings. I left without slamming the door. My pride was too injured to even make a scene. But 1 week later, 7 days of silence and no contact, I got a call from her mother. "Nick," she snapped over the phone like I was some delinquent tenant. "Why haven't you paid the rent yet?" I froze, then laughed. Laughed so hard I had to put the phone down for a second. See, what she didn't know was this. The house wasn't hers. It wasn't Haley's either. It was mine. Bought in my name, paid off with my bonus the year before. And I'd never put her or Haley on the deed. When I picked up the phone again, I kept my voice cold. "Oh, the rent," I asked. "You mean my mortgage? On my house?" Silence. "I was wondering when you'd figure it out. I gave you both a week's head start out of respect," I said. "But now that you've reminded me, your time's up." I hung up. Then, I logged into my home security app, tapped 2 buttons, and watched through the camera as the locks clicked shut. From now on, every window and door required my thumbprint. And I made damn sure the power company knew whose name the utilities were under. 10 minutes later, the calls started again. Then the texts. Then Haley finally reached out. "Nick, wait. Can we talk?" No, we couldn't. But I was done being quiet. It was time to find out what the hell had really been going on behind my back. I didn't answer her message. Not right away. I let her squirm for a couple of hours, let the panic simmer. I knew Haley well enough to know that her silence during the eviction was planned, rehearsed even. That smug grin wasn't confusion, it was confidence. Like she thought she'd won something. But what, exactly? I called up my buddy Marcus that evening. He used to be a PI before he got bored of catching cheating spouses. I just said, "I need some answers," and he replied, "Haley?" "Yeah," I said. "I'll dig," he promised. "Give me 2 days." I didn't even have to wait that long. That night, I drove past the house. Not to do anything, just to look. My house. The one I'd painted. Fixed the plumbing in. Spent Sundays building a dam deck for. And now the lights were on in the bedroom, our bedroom, and the silhouette that passed in front of the blinds wasn't Haley. No, it was a man. Taller than me. Shirtless. Muscular build. I could see the outline of tattoos down his arm even from the street. And then she appeared. Wrapped in that same silk robe I bought her last Valentine's. She wrapped her arms around him, laughed, tilted her head back like the queen of the damn kingdom. I felt the blood rush to my ears, a ringing that drowned out every rational thought. My knuckles were white on the steering wheel. She didn't even wait a week. Didn't even try to be discreet. She just moved him in like I never existed. Like I was just a placeholder until her real man showed up. I didn't go to the door. I didn't confront them. I just drove off, gripping the wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from doing something stupid. I didn't sleep that night. The image of them replayed every time I closed my eyes. Marcus called the next morning. "You were right," he said without even greeting me. "She's been seeing this guy named Kyle for about 3 months. Gym rat, influencer wannabe, has a private account where they post, well, things you don't want to see." "Send it all," I said. An hour later, I had the screenshots. Them at a cabin 2 months ago. Her in his lap at some rooftop party I was never invited to. And messages, dozens of them. "He's so boring. I can't stand his voice anymore. You make me feel alive, babe. Like a queen. I just want him out. You deserve to be here instead." The worst part? These weren't secret messages. She wasn't even trying to hide them. She was bold, unafraid. She probably thought I'd never check. Or maybe she didn't care if I did. I stared at one message for too long. I think I could get Mom to help push him out. And the reply. "Good. He's just in the way." That was it. That was the moment the last thread inside me snapped. It wasn't just cheating. It wasn't just disrespect. It was conspiracy. Betrayal with a bow on top. She'd planned this. She used her mother, used my kindness, and walked a stranger into my home like I was the disposable one. Like I was the parasite. I closed my laptop, cracked my knuckles, and took a deep breath. This wasn't going to end with me sulking in a cheap apartment. No. This was going to end on my terms. And she'd never see it coming. The next day, I met with a lawyer. Not just any lawyer, Elena Fisher. She's a quiet killer in a blazer, the kind of woman who smiles while tearing people apart in court. I showed her everything. The deed, the texts, the PI report. She didn't flinch. She just nodded, took notes, and said, "We're going to do this clean. You'll stay quiet until it's time. No emotional outbursts, no texts. Let her think she's safe." That was hard. Because every bone in my body screamed for confrontation, for shouting, for walking into that bedroom and flipping the entire place upside down. But I listened. And I waited. Meanwhile, Haley kept texting. First, casual. "Hey, just wondering if we could talk about the house stuff?" Then came the guilt trip phase. "You're acting really cold lately. I know we had our issues, but this is immature." And finally, the insults. "Grow up, Nick. You were never a man anyway." It didn't bother me as much as I thought it would. In fact, her rage confirmed something. I was finally pulling the rug out from under her, and she could feel it. But I wasn't done. Marcus found out Kyle had a record, petty stuff, mostly fights at bars, unpaid tickets, a failed restraining order filed by some ex. But that was enough for Elena to draft a little restraining clause in the property order, just in case. Then came the visit to the real estate office. Turns out, since Haley never signed anything, she had no stake in the property, and her mother had never been a legal resident. That meant what I was about to do was perfectly within my rights. I gave them 48 hours to vacate. A formal notice. Delivered with a smile. The screaming started that night. She showed up outside the temporary apartment I was renting. Banged on the door, yelling, crying, pleading. "Nick, you can't do this. Where am I supposed to go? This is my home too." I opened the door, just a crack. Looked her straight in the eyes. I said, "It was your home. Until you made other plans." She tried to grab my arm. "Okay, look, maybe I messed up, but we can figure this out. I'll tell Kyle to leave, okay? Let's just talk." I stepped back, not touching her. "You're 3 months too late, Haley." I closed the door. 2 days later, she and Kyle were standing outside the house with her mother, arguing with a locksmith and trying to figure out how they lost it all. I watched from a distance. I didn't need to speak. Everything had already been said, in her messages, in her smirks, in her silence while her mother kicked me out. I thought I'd feel satisfied. Instead, I felt hollow. Cold. I had spent years with that woman, given her my time, my loyalty, my dreams. And now I was watching her beg to be let back into a house she tried to steal from me. That's when I realized it wasn't the house she wanted. It was control. And now that she'd lost it, she had nothing left to offer but crocodile tears and manipulative apologies. I turned around, walked away. She didn't follow. That night, the silence hit different. Not the kind that gnaws at your chest because you miss someone. No, this one was clean. Final. Like the last page of a book you should have stopped reading chapters ago. I sat in my half-furnished apartment, eating cheap takeout, scrolling through old photos I hadn't deleted yet. There she was, and one of them a Haley. Wrapped in my hoodie, sitting on my lap, pretending to be this sweet, playful girl who used to tell me, "You're the only one who makes me feel safe." Safe. She said that a lot. Now I realized what it really meant. It meant comfortable. Predictable. Someone she could walk all over and still expect rent to be paid on time. I deleted the album. Every photo. Every screenshot. Every stupid video from our beach trip where she'd held my hand like it meant something. Gone. The next morning, I got a message from her mother. "You've humiliated my daughter. You should be ashamed." I didn't reply. I just blocked her. See, I used to think her mom was just overbearing, controlling, maybe a little old school. But the truth was uglier. She was training Haley, grooming her to be just like her, entitled, cold, transactional. And I was the idiot who walked right into the lion's den with flowers. Marcus called around noon. "Thought you might want to know, Kyle's out of the picture. He bailed last night. Left her crying on the porch, apparently." I should have felt triumphant. But all I felt was pity. Not for her. For myself. For the years I wasted trying to fix a woman who never wanted to be built right in the first place. That afternoon, I started writing out a list. Not for revenge. Not anymore. But for myself. Things I ignored. How she always hid her phone when I entered the room. How she rolled her eyes whenever I talked about my job. The way she never said, thank you, after I paid her student loans. How she flirted with waiters, then laughed when I looked hurt. The time she lied about going to her friend's baby shower, but I saw her tagged in a beach party post. I let it all slide. Over and over. Hoping love would be enough. Hoping I would be enough. But love without respect is just self-harm. That evening, I called Elena and told her to move forward with the divorce. Make it fast. No property split needed. She's not entitled to a penny. A week later, the documents were served. She didn't even try to contest them. Just scribbled her name and sent them back. I didn't hear from her again for a while. Until one day, 2 months later, I walked into a coffee shop, and there she was, sitting alone. No makeup, no smug look. Just tired. She looked up, startled. Nick. I nodded once, kept walking. As I passed, I heard her whisper, I made a mistake. I didn't stop, didn't flinch. Because the truth is, she didn't just make a mistake. She built one, brick by brick, lie by lie. And I was finally free from it. A month passed. Then 2. I started sleeping through the night again, for the first time in over a year. No more cold shoulders beside me in bed, no fake smiles over breakfast, no pretending everything was fine while feeling like a stranger in my own home. I had peace now. Real peace. But healing? Healing wasn't a straight line. There were nights where I'd sit in the dark with a glass of bourbon and ask myself the same question over and over. How the hell didn't I see it? The signs weren't subtle. The lies weren't clever. I just wanted so badly to believe I had something real that I ignored the rot growing under the surface. Sometimes I wondered if it was all fake from the beginning. Was I just a stepping stone for her? Stability until someone flashier came along? Then one day, out of nowhere, I got a letter. Handwritten. From Haley. Inside was 2 pages of the most performative garbage I've ever read. No apologies. No accountability. Just lines like, you abandoned me when I needed you to understand my pain. You humiliated me in front of everyone when I just needed space. You made me feel like I was being punished for wanting to be loved. And then the closer. Maybe if you'd fought for us instead of the house, things would have ended differently. I didn't even finish it. I crumpled the letter and dropped it in the trash. She didn't miss me. She missed control. She missed the comfort of a man who gave everything and asked for nothing back. But I wasn't that man anymore. A week later, I ran into Marcus at the bar. He slid me his phone and said, check this out. It was a screenshot from Kyle's Instagram. He was back with one of his exes. The caption read, upgraded for real this time. Haley was nowhere in his feed anymore. Wiped clean. Erased like she never existed. Funny how karma always finds a way to come full circle. But I wasn't celebrating. Because the truth is, by the time karma shows up, you've already buried the pain, patched yourself together, and started walking again. That weekend, I took a trip. Drove 5 hours out to the mountains, just me and the silence. Left my phone off. Stared at the stars and remembered what it felt like to breathe without checking who was texting. I promised myself something that night. No more fixing broken people who break me in return. No more justifying cruelty with the word love. And never again would I confuse being needed for being wanted. I didn't need closure. I was the closure. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I got a call from an unknown number. I don't usually answer those, but something told me to pick up. Nick. Her voice. Haley. I didn't say anything. Just let the silence hang there. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, she started, her tone softer than I'd ever heard it. But I saw your name on something in it. What do you want, Haley? I asked, flat. She paused. I messed up. That's not news. I know. I just thought maybe you'd listen. Just for a second. I leaned against the counter, heart steady. Why? So you can explain how sleeping with Kyle was your way of finding yourself? Or was it your mother's idea to throw me out like a dog? Her breath hitched. She told me you'd never forgive me. That you'd always hold it over me. She said I needed someone new, someone stronger. I laughed. Cold. And you believed her? I was stupid, she whispered. You were always there. Always good to me. I didn't see it until it was gone. Kyle was a mess. He hit me once. Left the next day. Not my problem, I said. She kept going. I lost everything. You were right. About the house. About the games I played. I thought I was winning, but I wasn't even in the game. I stayed silent. Not because I cared. but because I was watching a slow motion collapse and I wanted her to hear the quiet on my end. I'm in therapy now, she said, trying to fix the parts of me that ruined what we had. You ruined yourself, Haley. I just got out of the way. Another pause. Then, do you think, someday, we could talk in person? Not to get back together, just to make peace. That was the first time I smiled during that entire call. Haley, you don't make peace with a tornado after it's destroyed your home. You rebuild. Elsewhere. Click. I ended the call. No rage. No heartbreak. Just peace. She'd had her chance. She had the keys, the map, and the whole damn car. And she drove it straight off a cliff while blaming the road. A week later, I started dating again. Slowly. Cautiously. With eyes wide open this time. The first woman I took out wasn't glamorous. No Instagram poses. No drama. She laughed at my dumb jokes and didn't flinch when I told her about the divorce. And for the first time in a long, long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for someone to hurt me. I wasn't a broken man anymore. I was just a man who remembered who he was. 6 months after the fallout, I saw Haley one last time. Not planned. Not invited. She showed up at a mutual friend's wedding. Alone. I was standing near the bar, laughing with a few people from work, when I felt that familiar chill. You know that feeling when someone walks in and the air just thickens? That was her. She hadn't changed much, same fake confidence, same calculated smile. But there was something new in her eyes now, defeat. She spotted me. Our eyes met. She didn't look away. I raised my glass slightly. Not a toast. Just acknowledgement. That was all I had left for her. She approached. Nick. You look good. I know. That caught her off guard. The old me would have said something soft. Something like, you too. But not anymore. She hesitated, clutching her purse like a shield. I wasn't sure I should come. But I wanted to. I thought it might be good to. Just say something. Properly. I waited. Let her fill the silence. I've been rebuilding, she said. Everything fell apart after you left. I didn't realize how much you did for me, for us. I didn't appreciate it. You weaponized every kind thing I gave you, I replied calmly. That's not something you get to walk back with words. She blinked hard. I know. I'm not trying to win you back, Nick. I wanted you to see me trying. You want to be seen? I asked. Try looking in the mirror without rewriting the story. I started to walk away, but she touched my arm. Not forcefully. Just enough to try to hold on. Do you hate me? She asked, voice smaller than I'd ever heard it. I looked her dead in the eyes. No. You don't have that kind of power anymore. And that was it. I walked back to my table, and the DJ queued up some cheesy pop song. I laughed, lifted my drink, and toasted nothing in particular. There was no big moment. No dramatic closure. Just me, choosing not to look back. I never saw Haley again after that. But sometimes, when I catch myself second-guessing someone's intentions, I remember her. And I listen to that voice I used to ignore, the one that says, if it feels wrong, it probably is. I didn't become bitter. I became sharper, clearer, stronger. And I carry that with me now, not as a scar, but as armor. Because the worst thing she ever did wasn't cheating. It was making me doubt my worth. And the best thing I ever did was walking away before I lost myself trying to prove it. A year to the day after she had me thrown out of my own house, I stood on the balcony of a high-rise apartment I bought with my own money, sipping coffee as the sun came up over the skyline. Not a mansion. Not a trophy life. Just mine. Every inch of it earned, brick by brick, without needing to impress anyone. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus. Heard she's back with her mom. Can't keep a job. Guess Kyle wasn't the plan after all. I didn't reply. Didn't even smirk. There was no satisfaction left in watching her crash. Only clarity. She wasn't my downfall. She was my lesson. And some lessons leave scars so deep you'll never forget them, but you'll never repeat them either. I thought about the man I used to be. The one who tiptoed around her moods. Who thought love meant endurance. Who believed that if he just gave a little more, she'd finally treat him like he mattered. That man is gone. Now, I'm someone who doesn't explain his worth. Who doesn't beg to be chosen. Who knows that peace and solitude beat chaos wrapped in silk. If you're reading this and you're in that kind of storm, if the person next to you makes you question yourself more than they make you feel seen, walk. Just walk. You'll bleed. Yeah. You'll break. But someday, when the dust settles, you'll realize. It wasn't the betrayal that defined you. It was the decision to never be betrayed again. So no, I don't hate her. I thank her. Because she taught me that sometimes, The worst thing that happens to you is the only way you finally become who you were always meant to be. I closed a $20 million deal and gave the money back to my wife for safekeeping overnight. But the next day, I was shocked to find my wife had vanished and her phones were switched off. She left a note saying, "Thanks for the money. I'm starting over with my boyfriend. And good luck starting from scratch." I couldn't help but laugh, because the bag she stole was actually filled with shredded newspaper and dummy stacks I used for negotiation training. But it wasn't funny. Not really. Because even if the money was fake, everything else was real: my marriage, my trust, the damn look in her eyes when she said, "I'll always have your back, baby." Her name was Madison. Blonde, blue-eyed, 5 feet 8 inches, with a smile that could trick God himself. When we met, I thought she was sent from heaven. Turns out, hell just has really good marketing. The night before she vanished, she was in silk. Blood red silk. Poured a glass of wine, kissed my cheek, and told me I was her king. Said I was too good for this world. I just closed a $20 million acquisition deal with a European firm and walked into our Beverly Hills home like I'd won the goddamn Super Bowl. And maybe I had. "I'm proud of you," she whispered, resting her head on my chest. I should have known. Madison never whispered unless she was hiding something. But I was high off success and blind as a bat in daylight. We sat in our rooftop lounge, LA lights painting the sky, and she asked me where the money was. "In the gym locker bag," I said casually. "I'll take it to the firm's vault tomorrow." She raised a brow. "You want me to watch it tonight?" "Sure." I chuckled. "Safer than leaving it alone." She smiled. "Too quickly." "Of course, baby." And that was it. The last moment I saw my wife. The next morning, sunlight hit me through the curtains like a slap. I reached out to her side of the bed. Cold. Sheets folded neatly. No perfume. No sound of her heels. I walked downstairs expecting to see her in the kitchen, maybe making her black coffee and watching trashy reality TV. But all I found was silence. And a note. A single piece of our expensive stationery. Gold-trimmed. Perfumed. "Thanks for the money. I'm starting over with my boyfriend. And good luck starting from scratch." No signature. No explanation. Just betrayal. Folded in 120-gram luxury paper. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I sat down on the marble counter, staring at the note, and laughed. At first, it was a dry chuckle. Then a full belly laugh. Because that was Madison, dramatic as a soap opera, but dumb as bricks. She stole the wrong bag. The real money had been transferred hours earlier through encrypted wire. The bag she took was a decoy, filled with shredded newspaper, fake hundreds, and a weight block to simulate cash weight. But that didn't ease the sting. Because it wasn't just about money. She left me. For someone else. That part was real. And it hit harder than anything. I checked my phone. 30 missed calls from an unknown number. I didn't call back. I called her instead. Straight to voicemail. Again. Then I texted. "Are you serious?" Delivered. Read. No reply. That's when I knew. This wasn't some prank or breakdown. This was her escape plan. And she'd been planning it for months. In less than 12 hours, my wife had turned from partner to parasite. And I was standing barefoot on cold tile, watching my life shatter around me in slow motion. I walked to the safe room. Everything untouched. Security's intact. But my pride? Gone. And just when I thought the humiliation was done, my phone buzzed. Unknown number again. This time, I picked up. A man's voice. Smooth. Arrogant. "Hey there, champ. She told me you might call." Silence. Then he laughed. "She said you'd probably cry." I didn't say a word. My fingers clenched around the phone, so tight my knuckles popped. "She also said you were too soft to notice all the times she came back home smelling like me." Click. The line went dead. I dropped the phone. My breath came in shallow bursts. My heart beat like a war drum. She hadn't just left me. She'd mocked me. She'd used my success, my trust, and turned it into some sick joke with her new lover. That's when the shame turned into something else. Something darker. I didn't care about the fake money. I didn't care about the note. I wanted answers. And Madison wasn't going to get away this easy. Not after everything. Not after us. I stood there, numb, staring at the reflection of myself in the oven's glass. The man in that reflection didn't look like me. His jaw was clenched so hard, a vein bulged at his temple. His eyes didn't look hurt. They looked murderous. I wasn't crying. I wasn't even shaking. I was just boiling. Silent rage. I opened our shared iCloud, something Madison probably thought I'd forgotten. She had no clue I'd set it up for both of us years ago. And boom, there it was. A location ping from earlier that morning. Somewhere near Long Beach. A cheap motel. Classy, Madison. Real classy. I got in my car without changing clothes. No shower. No coffee. Just sweatpants, bare feet and slides, and fury pumping in my chest like nitro. Every red light was a personal insult. Every driver ahead of me felt like an accomplice. I pulled into the motel lot and sat there for a second, heart thudding in my ears. The building looked like it belonged in a crime documentary. Peeling paint, rusty railings. And behind curtain number 8, I'd find my wife. I didn't knock. I kicked. Door flew open and hit the wall. Madison screamed. She was in a towel. What hair? Lipstick smudged. A man behind her, shirtless, tatted, smug as hell. Looked like a dollar store version of Machine Gun Kelly. You lost, bro? He asked. Madison scrambled to cover herself. Jason, what the hell are you doing here? I stepped into the room. Calmly. Like I was checking into a spa. What am I doing here? Funny question, Maddie. I was going to ask you the same. Okay, listen, she said, trying to pull on some shorts. I was going to tell you. No, you already told me, I interrupted, pulling out the note. This sweet little love letter says it all. She looked at it like it was a dead rat. Jason, you need to calm the hell down. Oh, I'm calm. Calm enough to explain something you clearly didn't know. I pulled the duffel bag from the hallway. Dropped it. Zipper open. She gasped. Looked inside. Newspapers. Dummy bills. She blinked. Then again. Then turned to me, jaw slowly falling. Wait, what the hell is this? I smiled. Not kindly. You ran off with a prop bag, Madison. You betrayed me for this. I tapped the stack of fake hundreds. The boyfriend laughed. Yo, is this guy serious? I turned to him. You think this is funny, huh? He smirked. A little bit. Yeah. I lunged. I don't remember much of what happened next. I just know he ended up on the floor, lip bleeding, Madison screaming, me standing over him shaking with adrenaline. I didn't throw more than 2 punches, but it felt like I could have crushed his skull right there. Jason, stop. Madison shouted, pushing between us. You left me, stole from me, and mocked me, I said, voice low, fist trembling. And you want me to stop? She folded her arms, eyes defiant. You lied to me first. You said you trusted me. If you really did, why give me a fake bag? I couldn't believe it. She had the nerve to blame me. I gave you a test, I said through gritted teeth. And you failed it like the piece of trash you are. She flinched at that. You think I didn't know? You think I didn't notice the nights you came home tired from Pilates? Or when you fell asleep at your sister's place? I smelled them on you, Madison. I just waited to see how far you'd go. She was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. You're pathetic, she spat. You're just mad I beat you to it. I stared at her. And something inside me broke. Not shattered. Not exploded. It just snapped. I picked up the bag, zipped it closed. Keep the room, I said. I'll send you the dry cleaning bill for the blood. Then I walked out. The air outside was cooler than I expected. But my chest was burning. I got in my car, locked the door, and stared at the steering wheel. My hands were still shaking, but not from fear or rage. I was done. That was the moment I knew Madison was no longer my wife. She wasn't even a person to me anymore. She was a lesson, and I'd learned it. I didn't go home right away. I couldn't. The idea of walking into our place, my place now, and smelling her perfume on the pillows, seeing her hairbrush on the counter, or that stupid mug that said Boss Babe in gold foil, it made my skin crawl. So, I drove. Nowhere specific. Just drove through LA like a ghost. Past the places we used to go, the wine bar in Silver Lake where we had our third date, the beach house in Malibu I stupidly put under both our names, even that dog park we never used because, well, we didn't have a damn dog. She just liked the idea of being seen as the kind of couple who might. It was almost midnight by the time I pulled into a parking garage downtown and just sat there, engine running. My phone buzzed. Unknown number again. I stared at it, eyes burning. I didn't answer. I already knew who it was. A minute later, a voicemail popped up. I hit play. It was Madison's voice, slurred. Hey. Jason, I didn't mean for it to be like this. I mean, yeah, I left, okay? But you don't understand. You were never there. You were always in meetings, always chasing deals. I needed someone who looked at me like I mattered, not like I was another investment in your portfolio. She paused. Then quieter, but I didn't expect the bag to be fake. That was low. Then a male voice in the background. You done? Her tone shifted. Colder. Whatever. Don't call me. Click. I threw my phone into the passenger seat. So that was her story. I was too busy. I made her feel like a business strategy. Never mind the vacations, the gifts, the way I spent 2 months planning her birthday last year like it was a Hollywood gala. Never mind that I once skipped an investor summit in Singapore to stay home when her aunt died. None of that counted because I wasn't there to rub her feet every time she got emotional. She wanted worship. I gave her loyalty. Apparently, that's not the same thing anymore. I leaned back, eyes on the ceiling of the car, and asked myself a question I wasn't ready for. What now? Divorce was obvious. I'd get the papers drawn up. But it wasn't just about dissolving a marriage. It was deeper. I had to erase her from my system. Like a virus. She wasn't Madison anymore. She was just a mistake with a pretty face. When I finally got home, I didn't go to the bedroom. I went to the bar, poured whiskey, sat in the living room in the dark. No music, no lights, just the soft hum of the fridge in the kitchen and the occasional pop of the wood floor settling. Then I noticed something on the coffee table. A ring. Her wedding ring. She'd left it like some kind of insult. Like she was done. Like she was walking away clean. I picked it up and stared at the little diamond. We spent $6,000 on that ring, and now it felt like it belonged in a pawn shop or a trash can. I thought about flushing it. Then I thought about melting it. Then I just pocketed it. For now. The next few days were a blur. Calls from the law firm. My assistant, Chloe, asking if I was okay. I told her I had the flu. Told everyone that. Truth was, I couldn't stop replaying that voicemail. Not because it hurt, but because it showed me something. She never loved me. Not really. She loved the image. The perks. The status. And when she found a smoother ride, she jumped. And still, there was this ache in my chest. Not for her, but for the lie I lived in. The memories we made were poison now. Our wedding? A staged fairy tale. That night in New York under the stars? Scripted. Every, I love you? Bullshit. Rehearsed lines from a woman who was already looking for her next scene partner. I started sleeping in the guest room. Just until the paperwork was done. I boxed up her things. Every dress, every photo, every damn bottle of her overpriced skincare. All in storage. But then, something strange happened. I got another call. Private number. And this time, the voice wasn't Madison's. It was a woman. Calm. Clear. Serious. Mr. Green, this is Detective Amanda Lyle. I think we need to talk about your wife. That was the moment everything changed. Again, I froze. Detective? There was a beat of silence on the line, and then she said, it's about an incident involving Madison Green and her associate, Connor Blake. We believe you may have information. I leaned back against the kitchen counter, heartbeat in my throat. Incident. There was a report filed last night. A physical altercation. Witnesses say a man matching your description entered a motel room and assaulted Mr. Blake. I closed my eyes. I didn't assault him. He provoked me. I threw 2 punches and left. That's it. I'm not here to charge you, Mr. Green, she said, her tone steady. I'm here because Connor was found unconscious in that same motel room 4 hours later. Madison was gone. No fingerprints. No calls. Just gone. My pulse jumped. Unconscious? What the hell are you saying? I'm saying it's possible you were set up, and we need to find her. I didn't know what to say. My thoughts were ricocheting around like bullets. Last I saw Connor, he was on the floor holding his mouth and Madison was screaming at me to leave. I left. That's all. I left. Do you think she did something to him? We don't jump to conclusions, Mr. Green. But we also don't ignore patterns. She gave me a location to meet and a time. I hung up and just stood there, staring at the wall. Madison, again. Always 5 steps ahead, always slithering through cracks. I thought she betrayed me for lust. But maybe it was more than that. Maybe she had a plan. I got to the police station at 10 a.m., signed in, sat in a gray room that smelled like printer ink and cold coffee. Detective Lyle walked in. No nonsense, smart pantsuit, hair tied back like she hadn't slept in a week. She slid a photo across the table. Connor. Swollen face. Split lip. I shut. Bruised ribs. For in his arm. He hasn't woken up yet, she said. But he had traces of benzodiazepines in his blood. Sedatives. The kind that don't come from over the counter. My stomach turned. Why the hell would she drug him? I asked. Wasn't he the guy she left me for? Sometimes people aren't in on the plan, Lal said. Sometimes they're just pawns. She pulled out another photo. A different man. Bald. Thick neck. Tattoo of a serpent coiled around a dagger on his collarbone. Recognize him? I did. I'd seen him once. At a party Madison dragged me to 2 months ago. He was hanging near the bar, talking to her way too close while I was shaking hands with some tech investor. I thought he was just another random creep. That's Leo Vance, Law said. Convicted for fraud in Nevada. Suspected of laundering money through crypto startups. You know how many shell companies are tied to Madison's name right now? My breath caught. Wait. What? 5. All created in the last 3 months. Guess where the emails trace back to? She slid a printed email header toward me. JasonGreenInvestments.com. My domain. She used my firm, my branding, to open fake companies and run transactions. The $20 million deal I celebrated? It was real. But she used my own infrastructure to build a shadow trail beneath it. I thought she ran away with a boy toy. Turns out she was building her own empire, with my name as the foundation. My head was spinning. She knew everything, I said quietly. She was in my office late. Had access to my computer. I thought she was helping. She was, Law replied. Helping herself. I left the station that day feeling like someone had carved out my spine and left me standing. She hadn't just broken my heart. She tried to dismantle my entire life. I went straight to my office and locked the door. Chloe knocked twice. I told her I wasn't to be disturbed. Then I opened my laptop and started going through everything. Email logs. Activity history. Contracts. She was good. Subtle alterations. Hidden scripts and spreadsheets. Doctored IP logs. She'd been planning this for at least a year. And me? I was the idiot who kissed her goodnight every step of the way. That night, I sat on the balcony, city lights flickering like static below. I thought I knew pain. But this? This was betrayal at a surgical level. She hadn't just cheated on me physically, she'd erased me emotionally and tried to ruin me financially. And yet, deep down, some pathetic part of me still asked the question, why? Was I not enough? Did she ever love me? Or was I just the elevator she rode until she reached the floor she wanted? Then I remembered what the cops said. Sometimes they're just pawns. And suddenly, I knew. Connor wasn't the boyfriend. He was the distraction. She was working with someone else. And they were still out there. The next morning, I was already at the office before the sun came up. I didn't sleep, just lay in bed staring at the ceiling, every scene with Madison playing like a horror reel in my head. Every moment, every lie, every fake smile. And now, every click of her keyboard echoing in my skull. She wasn't just using me. She was building something in my shadow. Using my reputation, my success, to fund her exit, and God knows what else. I poured myself black coffee, logged into the firm's back-end systems, and got to work tracing her moves. One by one, I began untangling the shell companies she'd registered. Each had been cleverly disguised, generic names, fake CEOs, brief activity windows. Some had 1 or 2 real payments flow through them, just enough to make them look alive before they were folded, shut, or renamed. But the 5th one stood out, Clearwave Ventures. Registered just 2 weeks before she disappeared. Active. Still moving money. Still connected to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. And the signature on the last 2 wire transfers? Not Madison's. Not mine. It was someone else. Leo Vance. The bald guy. The one I saw that night at the party. The one who looked like he belonged in the back of a black SUV, not at a cocktail lounge with CEOs. Suddenly, everything clicked. Madison was never the mastermind. She was the recruiter. The gateway. She got close, built trust, softened me up, and then Leo moved in, invisible, silent, pulling the strings while she smiled and kept me blind. I picked up the phone and called Detective Lyle. She picked up after 2 rings. I found something, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. Clearwave Ventures. Cayman account. Wire transfers tied to Leo Vance. She was quiet for a moment. Then, you're sure? Positive. I'll escalate this, she said quickly. Stay put. And Jason, if you see Madison again, don't approach her. Let us handle it. I hung up and stared at the wall. Don't approach her. That was funny. Like I was capable of being rational around her anymore. Like I could just sip my coffee and let the cops handle it. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. This was about finishing it. Because I finally saw what she really was, a shapeshifter. A woman who became whatever her target needed. Sweet. Supportive. Innocent. Seductive. Until she didn't need you anymore. I gave her everything. My money. My trust. My time. and she gave me a war. Around noon, Chloe walked in. I didn't hear her knock. Jason, she said gently. You okay? I nodded, even though I wasn't. She hesitated. There's someone here asking for you. My heart dropped. Who? A woman. Didn't give a name. Says she used to work with you. Says it's urgent. I stood slowly, fists tight. Where is she? Chloe gestured toward the conference room. I walked down the hall like I was marching toward a gunfight. And when I opened the door, I stopped cold. It wasn't Madison. It was someone else. Late 20s. Auburn hair. Nervous hands. She stood quickly when she saw me. Jason Green. Yeah. I'm Sarah, she said, voice cracking slightly. I used to work with Madison. Sort of. Not at your firm. With Leo. My blood froze. Why are you here? Because I think she's in trouble. Real trouble. And I don't think she knows what she's gotten into. I motioned for her to sit, heart hammering. Talk. I was part of Leo's setup last year. Crypto laundering. Fake consulting firms. It was easy money at first. Then things got darker. Threats. People disappearing. I tried to leave. Madison took my place. I sat across from her. She chose this. She didn't know, Sarah said. She thought she was in control. But Leo doesn't let people leave. And when he's done using them. She didn't finish. She didn't have to. That night, I sat alone again, staring at my phone. Waiting for a call. A headline. A mistake. And then it came. A number I didn't recognize lit up my screen. But the voice was hers. Jason. I made a mistake. I didn't speak. I need your help. Still silent. She sniffed. They're following me. Click. She was gone again. And I had a choice to make. I didn't move for almost a full minute. The phone was still in my hand, screen black, her voice echoing in my ears like a ghost whispering through a tunnel. I need your help. She had the nerve to ask me for help. After gutting me emotionally, dragging my name into the dirt, stealing my trust and reputation, then vanishing like a magician with the audience's wallet. Now she was crying? Now she remembered I existed? I should have blocked the number. I should have erased her voice from my memory. But instead, I hit call back. Straight to voicemail. I stared out the window of my office at the city skyline and realized something I hadn't before. This wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. About closure. About finishing a chapter one never got to end on my own terms. I texted the number. Where are you? A minute passed. Then 3. Then 10. Just as I was about to give up, my phone buzzed again. Burnside Motel. Room 204. Don't bring anyone. Classic Madison. Same type of dump she ran to last time. Different side of town this time, closer to East Hollywood, somewhere the cops don't patrol unless there's blood or screaming. I grabbed my coat, checked my glove box for the pepper spray I kept since we got robbed 3 years ago, and drove. The parking lot was empty except for 2 beat-up cars and a guy sleeping on a bench with a trash bag over him. I walked slowly up the metal staircase, every step groaning under my weight. Room 204. I knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Then slowly, the door creaked open. And there she was. Madison. Hair pulled into a loose bun, makeup smudged, hoodie far too big for her frame. She looked thinner. Not glamorous. Not fierce. Just scared. Like a fox cornered by its own mistakes. I stepped in, letting the door shut behind me. She didn't move. Just stared at me like she didn't believe I was real. So, I said flatly. Here we are. Jason, she whispered. I didn't know where else to go. You went to a lot of places before this. She looked down, ashamed. Maybe pretending to be. I didn't know what Leo really was, she said. I thought I was playing him. But he was always 5 steps ahead. He just used me to get to you. I scoffed. And you were happy to help. Until the gun got pointed at you. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't buy them. Not after everything. Not after the note, the fake boyfriend, the companies in my name. I found the shell companies, I said. Clearwave Ventures. Cayman accounts. Leo's name all over them. You think I'm an idiot? No, she said quickly. No, Jason, you're not. That's the problem. You're too smart. Too careful. That's why he wanted to take you down. She started pacing, wiping her face. I thought if I could play both sides, I could walk away clean. Set us up. I was going to come back. I swear I was going to come back. Set us up. I laughed. Madison, you left a note that said, good luck starting from scratch. You didn't say, wait for me. You said goodbye. She was quiet. The air between us was heavy with everything unsaid. Then she whispered, they're watching me. I've seen the same car 3 times today. They know I talked to someone. They know I reached out to you. I nodded slowly. You didn't just run. You flipped. I gave everything to a contact at Homeland, she said. Bank records, crypto wallets, the whole network. But they told me I'm compromised now. Leo's paranoid. He thinks I'll talk more. You will talk more, I said. To the police. Tomorrow. Her voice cracked. Jason, I need you. No, you need a lawyer. Maybe a miracle. I came to you because I don't trust anyone else. I stared at her. This woman who'd once been my everything, now reduced to a ghost hiding in motels and begging for help from the man she ruined. And still, somewhere in the deepest, weakest part of me, I remembered the good. The sound of her laugh when she wasn't lying. The way she used to dance in the kitchen in socks. The woman I thought I married. But that woman was dead. You'll come with me, I said quietly. We'll go to the police. Now. And you'll tell them everything. She hesitated. Then she nodded. But as I turned to open the door, I caught something in the reflection of the hallway mirror, her hand slipping behind her back. A flash of metal. She lunged. And everything went black. Pain exploded in the side of my head like a sledgehammer. I hit the floor hard, ears ringing, vision flickering in and out. I could barely make out her silhouette standing over me, something heavy in her hand. Looked like the old iron lamp from the motel nightstand. My own blood was dripping into my eye, hot and sticky. I didn't want to do that, she hissed through clenched teeth. But you just don't listen. I tried to move, but my limbs felt disconnected. My left hand twitched against the floor. She stepped closer, breathing hard, pacing like she didn't know what to do next. You weren't supposed to come back, she muttered. You weren't supposed to be smart. You were just supposed to disappear into your business like always and let me go. I coughed, the taste of metal flooding my mouth. Then why call me Madison? I croaked. Why pull me back into this mess? She spun around, wild-eyed. Because I didn't have a choice, Jason. They turned on me. Leo thinks I'm a traitor. The others are disappearing. I'm next. I thought maybe you'd still care enough to help. I laughed. I don't know how I had the strength, but I laughed. A dry, broken wheeze. So your plan was to bash my skull in and... What? Steal my car? Try again with a new name. I panicked, she shouted. I didn't mean to hit you that hard. She started pacing again, biting her nail, eyes darting to the window. You don't get it, she said, almost whispering now. Leo has people. Real people. Dirty feds. Ex-mercs. You think you can just call a detective and solve this? You think they're gonna protect me? I needed a clean way out. And you were my only shot. She turned and looked at me like I was supposed to understand. Like I was supposed to forgive. But something inside me shifted in that moment. Whatever shred of sympathy I had left burned out completely. Call the cops, I muttered. What? You want help? You want out? Call the cops. Her face twisted into something I couldn't even recognize. Some ugly hybrid of fear and hatred. They won't get here in time. Then she did something that sent ice through my veins. She opened the closet. And out stepped Leo. I swear my heart stopped. He looked different. Cleaned up. Suit jacket. No tattoos showing. But those dead eyes? Same as I remembered. Cold. Calculating. Well, he said calmly, shutting the door behind him. That didn't go as smoothly as I told you, did it, sweetheart? Madison backed away, trembling now. You weren't supposed to follow me here. Leo smiled like a crocodile. I follow everyone, Madison. Then his eyes landed on me. Jason Green, he said, voice smooth as silk. I've heard a lot about you. I tried to push myself up, but my arms gave out. Leo walked over and knelt beside me. I gotta admit, you were a tough one to crack. Most men would have handed over the company by now. You got grit. I spat blood near his shoe. Go to hell. He chuckled. You first. Then, quick as a snake, he pulled a silenced pistol from his coat and pointed it at my chest. Wait. Madison screamed. You said we'd scare him, that's all. You said no bodies. Leo didn't look at her. Plans change. I stared up at the barrel. Cold sweat poured down my neck. This was it. Everything I built. Everything I lost. Ending here, in a motel room, on a bloodstained carpet. And then, bang. But it wasn't me who got hit. Leo jerked. Staggered. Looked down at his own stomach like he didn't believe it. Madison stood behind him, holding my gun. The one I kept in the glove box. She must have taken it while I was out. Leo collapsed like a puppet with its strings cut, gun sliding from his hand. Silence. Then Madison dropped the weapon and sank to the floor, sobbing. I lay there blinking at the ceiling, struggling to process what just happened. She saved me. After everything, she still saved me. But not out of love. Not out of guilt. She did it because she knew Leo wasn't just going to kill me. He was going to kill her, too. The room was silent except for Madison's sobs and my own shaky breathing. The iron lamp still lay on the floor, blood-streaked. Leo's body was crumpled near the foot of the bed, a slow dark pool spreading beneath him like a final signature. His eyes were open. Empty. I pushed myself up, groaning from the weight of my own body. My head throbbed, vision doubling for a second before snapping into place. Madison was crouched beside the wall, her back pressed to it like she was trying to disappear into the drywall. She didn't look at me. I staggered to my feet, leaned against the nightstand, and picked up my phone. Dialed. 911. What's your emergency? I stared at Madison while I spoke. My voice was flat. Cold. There's been a shooting at the Burnside Motel. Room 204. 1 dead. 2 survivors. Madison finally looked up. You're calling the cops on me? I didn't answer. The dispatcher kept talking. I gave the address, my name, told them to hurry. Then I hung up. You think you're the victim here? She hissed, wiping tears with the sleeve of that ridiculous hoodie. You don't know what I've been through. Leo would have killed me the moment I outlived my use. Then maybe, I said quietly, you shouldn't have helped him put a knife to my throat. She laughed bitterly. You always think you're the hero, don't you? I didn't respond. There was no point. We sat in that silence until the sirens began howling in the distance. She stood slowly, walked to the bed, and sat down with her hands on her knees like she was preparing for judgment. Her face had none of the defiance I'd seen earlier. No smugness. Just exhaustion. Do you hate me? She asked suddenly. I didn't even think about the answer. It came out like breath. No. I mourned you. And you don't mourn what you hate. She turned her head away. When the cops burst in, weapons raised, flashlights slicing through the air, neither of us moved. She didn't resist. I didn't speak. We were both already gone in our own ways. The next weeks passed like molasses mixed with broken glass. Interviews. Statements. Lawyers. Detective Lyle showed up to the hospital where they were stitching my scalp and taping my ribs. She said Madison's deal would depend on her cooperation and the data she turned over. That the Leo case might unravel something bigger. That the government might even sweep parts of it under the rug. I didn't care. I signed the divorce papers the moment they hit my desk. And then, I vanished. Not like Madison. Not in the middle of the night. I just walked away. From the firm. From LA. From everything that reminded me of her voice, her perfume, her poison. I moved up to a cabin in Northern California. Quiet. No marble floors. No skyline views. Just me and the wind through the pines. For the first time in a long time, I started remembering who I was before her. And what I learned. Sometimes, the person you love the most is the person designed to destroy you. And no matter how careful you are, how smart, how successful, you can still be fooled. Because love isn't about logic. It's a blindfold we tie on ourselves. But here's the truth no one tells you. You survive. You lose. You burn. You rebuild. And one day, you wake up and her face doesn't haunt you anymore. She becomes just another scar. Not a wound. Not a memory. Just a warning. So if you're reading this, and you're with someone who lies, manipulates, makes you question your own worth, walk away. Before you're the one bleeding on a motel floor, realizing the woman you trusted with everything almost ended your life, and then had the nerve to ask if you still loved her. I came back a day early from a week-long business trip in Chicago. My flight landed just after midnight, and I didn't tell anyone. I figured I'd surprise my wife. Her name's Emily. Emily with the icy blue eyes and a laugh that used to make people turn their heads at parties. Emily, who swore on our wedding day that I was her best friend, her soulmate. Emily, the last person I thought would be the one to burn my world to ash. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. Too dark. Her car wasn't there. I stood in the kitchen, dropped my bag, and just stared at the empty hallway. No lights. No note. Just silence. Something about that silence felt wrong. I poured myself a glass of scotch, sat down on the couch, and opened the Nest app. We'd installed the security system a year ago when some punk kids broke into our neighbor's garage. I scrolled through the recorded clips. Nothing suspicious, just birds, the mailman, a raccoon. And then I saw it. Thursday, 9:13 a.m. A silver Tesla pulled into our driveway. The doors opened in sync, real high-tech, and out stepped her boss, Nathan Connors. CEO of some flashy biotech startup, always wearing suits like armor and talking in power verbs. I never liked him, but Emily swore he was just intense, not inappropriate. She stepped out of the front door, suitcase in hand, wearing a sundress she only used for special occasions, like weddings or meant to impress weekends. She had on that red lipstick that always meant trouble. And then came the sound. I hit play on the audio. "Nathan, this alpha doesn't hide behind a desk, he acts." Emily laughed. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard in months, full-bodied, flirtatious. She leaned into him, kissed his neck, and whispered something the mic didn't catch. Then they got in the Tesla and drove off. I don't remember how long I sat there, just staring at the screen. The ice in my scotch melted completely. My hands shook. My mouth went dry. My heart, it didn't race, it stopped. I fast-forwarded through the rest of the week. She never came home, never checked in, never once mentioned vacation to me. And just like that, 7 years of marriage cracked open like a dropped mirror. I didn't sleep that night. I just watched the footage again, and again, and again. By 4 a.m., I was calling every mutual friend we had. "Hey, is Emily with you? No? You haven't heard from her? Oh, okay. Yeah, just checking." By 5, I called the front desk at Nathan's company. Left a message like an idiot. "Hey, this is Tyler, Emily's husband. Just wondering if she's okay. Haven't heard from her." No response. At 6, I finally got a ping. A news alert. Biotech Solutions acquired by Apex Gen. Brokered deal shakes market. I clicked it open and nearly dropped my phone. Sources confirmed the deal was pushed forward and finalized by Apex Gen's new acquisition consultant, Tyler Grant, a strategic move by the so-called weak man rumored to have lost out personally to biotech's now former CEO, Nathan Connors. Yeah, that was me. The weak man. But guess what? That deal made me 7 figures richer. Because while Nathan was off playing alpha with my wife in wine country, I was brokering the buyout of his entire company. A deal he'd never see coming. But none of that mattered at 6 a.m. in my quiet living room, staring at the paused image of my wife kissing another man like I never existed. It wasn't about the betrayal. It was about the performance. The way she smiled. The way she chose him. Publicly. Boldly. Like I was nothing more than a stepping stone on her way up. And worst of all, I knew this wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was a decision. A deliberate one. I stood up, glass still in hand, and whispered to myself, "All right. If this is war, then let's make it biblical." The first thing I did was call our lawyer. The second, I packed a go-bag. The third, I hit record on everything. Because if Emily wanted to be ruthless, she forgot who taught her how. I didn't go to sleep. I couldn't. I felt like my skin didn't fit anymore. Like my own house had turned on me. Every picture on the wall, every piece of furniture we picked together, it all felt fake, poisoned by her lies. By mid-morning, I wasn't pacing anymore. I was digging. Phone records, email syncs, old texts. I hadn't snooped before. I was the type of guy who respected privacy. That version of me died around 2 a.m. At 11:46 a.m., I hit gold. Her iMessage backup had synced to our shared iCloud account. I didn't even know it was still active. But there it was. A thread with Nathan, saved under in briefcase. The first message was 2 months old. "Emily. Tyler is going to Chicago that week. We'll have the house." The next made my blood run cold. "Nathan. Perfect. I want to see how that little kitchen island feels. My kitchen. My goddamn granite countertop." The text went on. Weekends with the girls were weekends with him. Business dinners were hotel nights. She lied like it was a second language. "Emily. He's sweet, but soft. He doesn't get it. Nathan. Weak men don't hold the line. You deserve someone who takes what he wants." That's when it hit me. This wasn't some drunken fling. She admired him. Not for who he was, but because he wasn't me. I printed every message. Screenshotted every picture. Filed it neatly in a manila envelope labeled reality. I don't know why. Maybe part of me wanted her to see the evidence all in one place. Maybe I needed the weight of it in my hands to believe it was real. Around 2 p.m., she called me. I stared at the screen. Emily read heart. Still had the heart. I answered. "Hey babe," she said, voice casual like she hadn't disappeared for 5 days. "Just checking in. How's Chicago?" My jaw clenched. "Oh, it's great," I said flatly. "Rainy. Quiet. You know how it is." There was a pause. "Wait. Are you home?" Silence again. Tyler, I told you I was going to Napa with the girls. You told me a lot of things, Em. Click. She hung up. I sat there, phone still in hand, waiting for the next move. She didn't call back. No texts. Not even an excuse. She knew. She knew I knew. I don't know what I expected. Guilt? Panic? A desperate apology? Instead, I got an Uber notification an hour later she was on her way home. And with that, the stage was set. I poured myself another drink, lit a cigar I'd been saving for our anniversary, and waited for the front door to open. Because if she wanted to lie to my face, I was going to give her the full opportunity. This wasn't heartbreak. This was a gathering storm. And I was the eye. The door opened like a scene from a cheap drama, smooth, casual, but weighted with all the wrong energy. She stepped in wearing a white sundress, the same one from the footage. Her hair was pinned up. She smelled like hotel soap and Chardonnay. No shame in her eyes. No fear. Just that annoying, smug calm she always wore when she thought she was in control. Tyler, she said with that fake surprise, like I'd ruined her little fantasy by being home too early. Why didn't you tell me you came back today? I didn't answer right away. I took a long, slow drag from my cigar and let the smoke hang between us like a curtain. She dropped her tote bag by the couch. You've been drinking? I laughed. Cold. Hollow. What gave it away, Em? The glass? The fact that I'm sitting here watching our marriage catch fire? Her smile faltered. What's that supposed to mean? I picked up the manila folder from the coffee table. The one labeled reality. This, I said, handing it to her, is what it means. She opened it casually, too casually, then paused. Her eyes scanned the pages. Texts, screenshots, location history, audio from the security camera, a full dossier on her betrayal, color-coded, time-stamped. You went through my phone? She asked, tone flipping from fake innocence to righteous indignation in half a second. You went through our marriage with a bulldozer, I said. Don't act like the victim. She tossed the folder onto the couch like it offended her fingers. I was going to tell you, she muttered. When? I asked, standing now, heart pounding. Before or after your boss rearranged our kitchen island? Her jaw clenched. Don't be dramatic. You lied to my face for months, I snapped. And you brought him into our house, Emily. You were always gone, she said, raising her voice now. You never looked at me like he does. I blinked. That was it. That was her explanation. He sees me, she said. He doesn't treat me like I'm fragile. Oh, I see you just fine, I said. I see the lies, the manipulation, the performance. She crossed her arms. So what now? You want a divorce? Is that it? I stared at her. This woman I once swore to protect. This woman who had just spit on everything we built. You know what hurts the most? I said, stepping closer. You didn't even try to be careful. You wanted to get caught. You wanted me to see what a real man looks like. She scoffed. You're being pathetic. That word. Pathetic. The final spark. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't throw anything. I just leaned in, calm and razor sharp. Nathan's company? The one you ran off with him to save? I brokered its collapse while you were sipping wine in Napa. Her eyes widened. Yeah, I continued. Your alpha? He's jobless. His company's gone. Bought out by the weak man you spit on. Her mouth opened, then closed. She had nothing. You didn't just betray me, I said. You bet on the wrong future. She didn't speak. Not a word. She turned and walked up the stairs, slamming the bedroom door behind her. And me? I sat back down, lit another cigar. And for the first time in days, I smiled. Because this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. She didn't come back down that night. I heard drawers slamming upstairs, the closet opening, the zipper of her suitcase dragging across the floor like it was scratching through my spine. She was packing. Good. Let her pack. Let her run to the man who no longer had a job, a company, or a future. A man she thought was her ticket out. But the thing about silence, it says more than shouting ever could. That whole night, the house felt like it was holding its breath. And I sat there, in the same spot, just listening. To every creak, every step, every lie that echoed in my head. Around midnight, I finally got up, walked to the kitchen, poured myself water instead of whiskey this time. My hands were steady now. I opened the fridge, nothing. She hadn't even stocked groceries before her little getaway. The milk was expired. The fruit was rotting. Just like us. I went to bed alone for the first time in years. The left side of the bed was cold. It stayed that way. At 6:42 a.m., I heard the front door open and close. She left without saying goodbye. No note. No apology. Not even a sarcastic farewell. And you know what? I preferred it that way. By 8 a.m., I was at my lawyer's office. Tyler, you sure? My lawyer, Deborah, asked. You want to go nuclear? I looked her dead in the eye. She already did. I'm just pressing the button, she armed. We filed for divorce the same day. I handed over every screenshot, every message. The footage. The audio. It was airtight. California's no-fault divorce laws be damned. When someone torches the house, you get to point out where they lit the match. By noon, I was calling movers. By 2, I changed the locks. By sunset, her number was blocked. But grief doesn't knock politely. It kicks in the door after the adrenaline fades. That night, as I stood in my kitchen, I broke. Quietly. No sobbing, no collapsing. Just a slow, steady burn from the inside out. I thought of the vacations we never took because we were saving. The nights I stayed up helping her prep for presentations. The anniversary dinner she forgot, but I forgave. All of it. Gone. Wasted? Maybe not. Because something was shifting inside me. Something solid. I wasn't weak. I wasn't pathetic. I was a man who'd been lied to, used, humiliated, and I was still standing. Still breathing. Still planning. At 11:09 p.m., my phone buzzed. A private number. I answered. Her voice. Shaky. Tyler. I made a mistake. I didn't say a word. He's not who I thought he was. I thought I needed someone different, but still nothing from me. I thought you'd fight for me. That was the moment. That was when I finally spoke. I did fight for you, Emily. I fought every damn day while you were busy practicing your moans for a man who wears loafers without socks. You want me to fight for you now? Against what? Your own mess. Silence. Then, can we talk? No, I said, and hung up. That was the last time I heard her voice. And somehow, it finally felt quiet. Not the kind of quiet that haunts you. The kind that tells you you're free. 2 days after I hung up on her, I saw her again. It wasn't planned. I was picking up coffee downtown, a place we used to go together. Stupid me, still going to the same spots, thinking the world wouldn't shove her back in my face so soon. But there she was, walking out of a boutique, sunglasses too big, heels too loud, and her new man trailing behind her like a kick dog. Nathan. Only now, he didn't look like the high-powered CEO from her fantasies. He looked tired, disheveled, deflated, the kind of man who just lost everything. Our eyes met. Hers and mine. She froze. He didn't even notice me, too busy arguing with someone on the phone. I didn't say a word. Didn't even stop walking. Just passed her like she was a stranger on the street. But as I stepped past, she muttered it, almost under her breath. Tyler. I didn't stop. She didn't follow. That was the real goodbye. Later that night, I got a message from one of her friends. Amanda, the type of woman who thrived on drama like it was oxygen. Amanda just wanted to say I'm sorry. We all knew something was off. Emily wasn't herself. She's not doing great. I didn't respond. I didn't care. She'd chosen her path. She wasn't spiraling, she was crashing. And I wasn't about to toss her a parachute. But just when I thought things were finally settling, I got a call from my company's HR. Tyler, just a heads up, someone sent in a complaint. Anonymous. Claiming you used insider information to make personal gains off the biotech acquisition. I sat back in my chair. Stared at the ceiling. Of course she would try to drag me down. I spent the next 48 hours untangling the mess. Meetings. Emails. Documents. Thankfully, everything I did was above board. But it didn't matter, the stain was there. The whispers. The doubt. The audacity of it all. And that's when I realized something. Emily wasn't just a liar. She wasn't just a cheater. She was vindictive. She couldn't stand the fact that I landed on my feet. That I didn't crawl back to her, broken and desperate. That I won. And winning? That pissed her off more than anything. I started writing everything down, not just for court, but for me. A record. A timeline. A reminder. Because sometimes, when the nights got too quiet, part of me still asked the dumb questions. Was any of it real? Did she ever love me? Could I have stopped this if I paid more attention? But then I'd read back the messages. The surveillance. The things she said. The way she smirked when I confronted her. And I'd remember. I didn't lose her. She lost me. The only man who ever really gave a damn. So I kept rebuilding. Day by day. Brick by goddamn brick. New routines. New people. New future. And every time I saw her name pop up on my phone or email, which still happened. Once every few days, like a ghost knocking on the wrong door, I deleted it. No response. No closure. No engagement. She made her move. Now it was my turn to live without her, and better than ever. It took longer than I expected to stop waking up angry. At first, I'd open my eyes and expect to see her next to me, the way it used to be. That messy bun, her bare shoulder, the way she used to hog the blanket and pretend not to hear me complain. My hand would instinctively reach over. And then I'd remember. And it would all come flooding back. That morning ritual became a slow internal shift. From anger, to numbness, to indifference. That's how healing happens, I guess. Not like an explosion. More like erosion. Quiet. Slow. Permanent. I wasn't trying to replace her. I wasn't on dating apps or chasing rebounds. I didn't want another warm body in my bed, not when the last one used it as a launch pad to betray me. What I wanted was clarity. Space. I wanted to look in the mirror and recognize myself again. So I started rebuilding everything. Got back into boxing. 3 times a week. No excuses. The sound of gloves hitting pads did more therapy for me than any words ever could. Reconnected with old friends I'd pushed away during the marriage. Took my godson to his first football game. Even fixed the old '69 Mustang that had been collecting dust in the garage, the one Emily called a money pit. Yeah, that money pit now purred like a beast and turned heads at every red light. I was finally starting to breathe again. And then came the letter. Not a text. Not a call. A handwritten letter. On cream paper, in her cursive, I used to love. It arrived in a plain envelope. No return address. But I knew it was her the second I saw the way she wrote the T in my name. I almost tossed it straight into the trash. Almost. But I read it. And man, I wish I hadn't. It started off soft. Sweet. I miss you. I think about you every day. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone. All the classics. Then came the twist, the part where she spun her affair into my fault. You were always so focused on work. You stopped looking at me like a woman. I needed to feel wanted. She still didn't get it. She wasn't apologizing. She was justifying. That's when I laughed. Out loud. Right there at my kitchen table. She really thought a 4-page letter would undo what she did? That scribbling, "I miss your laugh," would erase the image of her kissing that man in our driveway? I didn't respond. Instead, I folded the letter, walked it out to the backyard, and burned it in the fire pit. Watched the flames curl around her words and turn them to smoke. Gone. Like her. I felt nothing. And that scared me, but also, it set me free. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't dream about her. Didn't wake up reaching across the bed. Didn't wake up angry. I woke up, peaceful. And that's when I knew. She no longer lived here. Not in this house. Not in this mind. Not in this heart. She was a lesson now. Nothing more. It was a Friday night when the past tried to claw its way back in. But this time, it wasn't Emily. It was her family. Her mother, Diane, reached out first. A voicemail. Soft voice. Polished words. The same tone she always used when she was trying to seem gentle while hiding a knife behind her back. Tyler. I know things have been difficult, but we'd love for you to come to dinner. Just a casual thing. No pressure. I listened to it 3 times. Each time, I found myself laughing harder. The woman who once accused me of holding Emily back now wanted to have dinner? I should have deleted it. Instead, I went. I don't know why. Maybe it was closure. Maybe curiosity. Or maybe I just wanted to look every last one of them in the eye and show them that I survived. That the man they expected to crumble was still here, sharper than ever. They lived in a gated neighborhood where every house looked like a country club that forgot its soul. Emily's sister opened the door. Rachel. Always judgmental, always sipping something. Tonight it was white wine. "Oh, you actually came," she said. Disappointed. I asked, brushing past her. The dining room was full, her father, 2 uncles, her cousin, Rachel's husband, and then Emily walked in from the kitchen. She froze when she saw me. I didn't flinch. "Tyler," Diane said with a rehearsed smile, "we're so happy to see you." "You shouldn't be," I replied calmly. "But let's eat." The food was overpriced nonsense. Truffle this, balsamic that. I barely touched it. I was watching, listening. Everyone acted like this was some kind of reunion episode. Laughing, toasting, telling stories like nothing had happened. Then halfway through the meal, Emily raised her glass and said, "My lover sees me as a trophy. You see me as a problem." Silence. Real, heavy, ugly silence. Her father looked down. Diane forced a laugh. Rachel smirked like it was entertainment. And me? I stood up, pulled my keys from my pocket, laid them on the table, car, house, everything, and said, trophies belong to winners. You all just lost. Then I walked out. I didn't slam the door, didn't shout, didn't cause a scene. I just left, clean, silent, done. The messages started immediately. Emily, that wasn't fair. Rachel, wow, drama king much? Diane, we were trying to make peace. I blocked them all. They weren't looking for peace. They were looking for permission. Permission to rewrite what happened. To pretend they hadn't enabled her. That they didn't know. That they hadn't laughed about it behind my back. But here's the thing. I don't need their peace. I've got my own. In the quiet of my own space. In the way I sleep now, heavy, undisturbed. In the plans I make that don't include compromise or betrayal. They had their chance to be part of my life. They threw it away when they clapped for her instead of checking her. And I walked away with my dignity intact and my soul lighter. That dinner wasn't closure. It was confirmation. I wasn't the broken one. I was the one who escaped. It's been 8 months. Funny how something that once felt like it would crush you forever eventually becomes background noise. The house is different now. Not just the furniture, though I did replace the couch we used to curl up on. But the energy. The air feels mine again. I even knocked down the wall between the kitchen and living room. Opened it up. Made space for something new. Something honest. Every now and then, I'll find remnants of her. A sweater she forgot. A book she half-read. A note from years ago tucked into the back of a drawer. And for a brief second, something stings. But only for a second. Because I no longer see those things as pieces of her. I see them as evidence that I lived, loved, trusted, and survived. I've started seeing someone new. Her name's Claire. Met her at a charity fundraiser I almost didn't attend. She laughed at my joke about overpriced wine and stayed for the conversation. She doesn't pry, doesn't ask for explanations about the past. She listens when I want to talk, and knows when to change the subject when my voice gets too quiet. We're taking it slow. She knows there's a history. She doesn't treat me like I'm broken. And I don't treat her like she's a replacement. We're two people trying to build something with honesty at the center, not convenience, not survival, but real, conscious effort. And that feels like a revolution. I've learned more about myself in these last 8 months than I did in the entire marriage. I learned that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect smiles. It's about consistency when no one's watching. I learned that betrayal doesn't come with warnings. It comes with charm and excuses and laughter that doesn't reach the eyes. But more than anything, I learned that losing someone who doesn't value you isn't a loss. It's a release. I was never supposed to carry her baggage. I just thought I could fix her emptiness by loving her harder. But some people don't want to be saved. They want to burn things down and watch who runs into the fire after them. And I did. For a while, I ran into that fire willingly. But I walked out of it, scarred and stronger. Not everyone gets that chance. Some stay burned. So, if you're reading this, if you're sitting in the dark wondering what the hell just happened to your life, wondering why the person you trusted most became the person who hurt you deepest, let me say this. It's not your fault. It's not because you weren't enough. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's because they were never built to love the way you love. And their destruction is not your inheritance. You can leave the ashes. You can rebuild. You can thrive. You might not believe that right now, and that's okay. But one day, you'll look back and smile at how far you've come. And when you do, you'll know that everything you lost was nothing compared to everything you found. You ever stand in a room full of people and feel like you're the only one who's completely in the dark? That was me, 2 hours into Mike's birthday party, grinning, sipping my drink, while my whole damn life was collapsing in real time. Her name's Kayla, my wife of 10 years. Blonde, sharp-tongued, wicked smile. The kind of woman that walks into a room and turns every head. Not because she's beautiful, though she is, but because she owns it. We had 2 daughters, a house in the suburbs, the usual white picket facade. I thought I had it all. That night, we pulled up together. She looked unreal in her red dress, like she stepped off a movie set. I kissed her cheek before we walked in. She didn't kiss me back. I should have known then. We mingled. She laughed, but never with me. I saw her whispering to Zach and Ethan, 2 of my oldest friends. High school boys turned gym brothers. I thought nothing of it. I trusted her. Stupid me. Then it happened. We were about to cut the cake when Kayla walked up beside me, her perfume burning like fire in my lungs. She leaned in, real close, and whispered, Don't wait up. I blinked. What? She turned, heels clicking on the marble floor, and walked straight to Zach and Ethan. Wrapped one arm around each of their necks like she was in some damn music video. My friends looked at me and didn't flinch. Before they left, she tossed her hair, looked over her shoulder, and said it loud enough for the whole room to hear. They'll take care of me now. And our daughters? They'll have 2 new fathers to look up to. The room fell silent. No one said a word. Zach, Ethan, and my wife walked out like they'd won something. Like they were proud of it. Like I was just some fool watching his world go up in flames. That was the final blow. I stood there frozen. My hands clenched. I didn't even feel the whiskey glass shatter in my palm until I saw the blood drip down my wrist. And still, I didn't move. My heart was roaring, but my body just wouldn't respond. They took my car. She had the keys. I Ubered home. Sat in the dark, shaking. The girls were asleep. I kissed their foreheads, sat down in the living room, and stared at the wall for hours. Then, something snapped. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't even heartbreak. It was rage. Pure, white-hot, bone-deep rage. You don't spend 10 years building a life, sacrificing dreams, staying loyal, being a father, a husband, a damn man, just to be humiliated in public like that. Just to be replaced by gym rats with protein shakes and zero conscience. No, she wanted a war. She got one. I opened my laptop. I started digging. Phone records. GPS logs. Hidden folders in our shared cloud. She thought I was too stupid to check. But see, that's the thing about betrayal. It sharpens you. Makes you see everything you ignored. And what I found that night. It lit the fuse. This wasn't her first time. Oh no, Kayla had been busy. Zach wasn't her first. Ethan wasn't even her second. There was Ryan, the real estate guy. Blake, her personal trainer. Connor, the guy from the dealership. And guess what? She recorded most of it. I don't know if it was ego or recklessness, but I watched her on camera, grinning, moaning, loving the thrill of hiding in plain sight. Every damn file. I saved them all. Categorized. Named. Dated. This was no longer about heartbreak. This was evidence. This was the start of something bigger. My hand stopped shaking. My mind got cold, calculated. I made lists. I wrote down names. I thought of her friends, her family, her boss. I pictured every place she felt safe and imagined how I'd burn those illusions to the ground. Kayla thought she destroyed me that night. She had no idea she just woke up something far, far worse. The next morning, the house was still quiet when I woke up. The sun was rising, and the birds were chirping like it was just another normal day in the suburbs. But inside me, everything had shifted. I wasn't the same man who smiled at his wife across the kitchen table. That guy died at the party. Kayla still hadn't come home. She didn't call, didn't text, just vanished with 2 of my oldest friends, like our family meant nothing, like our daughters were some disposable part of her past. I went into her home office, opened her laptop. No password. Mistake number 1, Kayla. Within 5 minutes, I was deep in her digital world. She had no clue how easy it would be for me to trace her steps. I found a hidden folder labeled Work Docs. That was her second mistake. Inside were videos, photos, and text messages that didn't belong anywhere near work. I clicked on one at random. There she was, in a hotel room I didn't recognize, wrapped in a towel, whispering into her phone. He thinks I'm on a business trip. He's so predictable. I stopped breathing. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. I clicked another. This time, she was with Zach, lying next to him in bed, laughing as she scrolled through our vacation photos. I only married him because he was safe, she said, not even trying to whisper. He kissed her shoulder. And now you're free. Free? Is that what I was to her, a cage? 10 years. I paid off her student loans. Took care of her when she was sick. Left my job early to coach our daughter's soccer games. Canceled nights out with friends so we could reconnect. And this is how she thanked me? I kept digging. It was like falling down a rabbit hole of filth. Screenshots from secret messaging apps. Plane ticket receipts to cities I've never been to. Dozens of Uber rides from our home. Always while I was at work. She even had a burner phone. But the worst part? She had taken pictures with the girls and sent them to her lovers. Future stepdads. One message read. That's when I almost broke the damn screen. I slammed the laptop shut and took a breath. My whole body was trembling. I looked around the room, seeing everything differently. The couch where we cuddled on movie nights. The dining table where we had family dinners. It all felt tainted now, like the ghost of her betrayal was hiding in every corner. I went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at my reflection. I didn't even recognize myself. My eyes were bloodshot, my face pale. But under it all, there was a storm rising. I had two choices: break down or rise up. I chose the second. I printed everything. Every photo, every message, every disgusting little secret she thought she buried. I put it all in a red folder, labeled it Kayla's greatest hits. Then I called my lawyer. That afternoon, she came home like nothing happened. Sunglasses on, chewing gum, fake smile on her lips. "Morning, babe," she said casually, tossing her purse on the counter. "You make coffee?" I didn't even look at her, just handed her the folder. "What's this?" she laughed, flipping it open. The laughter stopped, and so did her breathing. Her eyes widened. Her hands shook. I finally looked her in the face. "You had your fun. Now it's my turn." She opened her mouth to speak, probably to lie again, but I raised my hand. "Save it, Kayla. I already know everything." Her smile vanished, and for the first time in a long time, I saw fear in her eyes. She stood frozen in the kitchen, holding that red folder like it was a live grenade. I watched her fingers tremble as she flipped through the evidence, the screenshots, the videos, the text messages she thought would stay buried. "You went through my stuff?" she finally muttered, voice sharp. That's what she led with. Not "I'm sorry." Not "let me explain." Just that I invaded her privacy. I laughed. I couldn't help it. "You've been playing a whole damn circus behind my back, and that's your concern?" That I saw the truth. Her eyes narrowed. She threw the folder on the table and crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic, Josh." There it was. That smug, dismissive tone. The same one she used when she forgot our anniversary. The same tone she used when she lied about working late and came home reeking of cologne that wasn't mine. "You've been screwing half the neighborhood," I snapped. "And you think I'm being dramatic?" Her face changed then, just for a second, like she wanted to scream, or cry, or run. But she didn't. Instead, she smirked. "You always wanted a perfect wife," she said, walking past me toward the living room. Newsflash. I got tired of pretending. I followed her, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles cracked. "Pretending? Kayla, I gave you everything. I built our life around you. I sacrificed for this family. And I never asked you to." She poured herself a drink, like we were having a casual conversation. "You think providing a house and playing daddy makes you a good husband?" "No," I said, stepping closer. "But not spreading your legs for my best friends might have helped." She turned then, fast. Glass slammed on the table. "You don't get to talk to me like that." "I don't." My voice broke with fury. "You humiliated me in front of everyone. At that party. What the hell was that?" She rolled her eyes. "You think you didn't deserve it?" That hit like a brick. "What are you talking about?" "All those years," she hissed. "You were boring, Josh. Predictable. Safe. I felt like I was dying in this house." I stared at her. "So instead of telling me that, you decided to destroy everything?" Her voice softened. Fake, like syrup covering poison. I needed to feel alive again. "No," I said coldly. "You needed attention. You needed to be worshipped. You needed someone to tell you you're still hot. And they did," she whispered. "Better than you ever could." I didn't hit her. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. But something in me shut off right there, like a final switch being flipped. "You're going to pack a bag," I said, steady now. "You're going to leave this house. Tonight." She laughed again, cruel, bitter. "You really think you can just kick me out?" I stepped forward, reached into the drawer, and placed the divorce papers on the counter. Her smile twitched. "I talked to the lawyer this morning," I said. "I have everything documented. Videos. Messages. You signed a prenup, remember?" Her face went pale. "You wouldn't." "Oh, I will," I said. "And the girls? They're staying with me. Because you, Kayla, are not just a liar. You're dangerous." She stood there, shaking, the woman who once had me wrapped around her finger. Not anymore. She thought she was dealing with the old Josh. But the man standing in front of her now? He was done playing nice. Kayla didn't pack her bags that night. Instead, she locked herself in the bedroom and blasted music loud enough to shake the walls, as if she was a teenager throwing a tantrum. I slept on the couch with one eye open, waiting, not for an apology, but for another low blow. When the house finally fell silent around 3 a.m., I got up, walked to the master bedroom, and quietly turned the lock from the outside. She wanted to act like a child? she'd get treated like one. The next morning, I made breakfast for our daughters like I did every day. Eggs, toast, cartoons playing in the background. They laughed when I added whipped cream to their pancakes in the shape of smiley faces. But behind my smile, my chest felt like a war zone. How do you explain to two little girls that the woman who kissed them goodnight was also the woman who poisoned everything? I kissed their foreheads and packed their school bags, every movement automatic. Kayla never came out of the room. She texted me once. "We need to talk. Don't make this worse than it is." Worse? She had no idea what worse was. Yet, as soon as the girls were at school, I went to see Mark, my lawyer. Guy's a shark, the kind of man who doesn't blink when you mention revenge. I handed him the folder of evidence, and he raised an eyebrow halfway through the first video. "You sure you want to go scorched earth?" he asked. I nodded. "She went nuclear. I'm just responding." He whistled low and leaned back in his chair. "You'll get the house, full custody, and she'll be lucky if she walks away with anything but a suitcase." "Good," I said. "That's all I want." Well, not all. I also wanted her to feel it, not just legally, but personally. I wanted her friends to know what she really was. I wanted her family, especially her perfect little Instagram mom, to see who she raised. I got to work. I printed flyers. Anonymous, simple, brutal. "Have you seen this woman?" Below it, a photo of Kayla kissing Zach in a parking lot. On the back, a QR code linking to a drive with screenshots and chat logs. I dropped them in mailboxes around the neighborhood, taped them to the gym wall where Zach worked, slid one under the door of Ethan's fiancée's salon. Then I sent one final email. Her boss. Subject line: "Thought you should know what kind of business trips she's taking." Attached, a .zip file titled Productivity Highlights. I hit send, and it felt good. I came home to silence. She was gone. No note. No goodbye. Just her closet half empty and her perfume still lingering in the air. I should have felt relief. I should have felt free. But all I felt was hollow. Because under the rage, under the satisfaction of tearing her world down, there was something deeper. I loved her. Not the monster she became, but the woman I thought she was. The one who held my hand when our first daughter was born. The one who danced barefoot in the kitchen on Saturday mornings. That woman. She was dead. Or maybe she never existed at all. I walked into our bedroom, my bedroom now, and sat on the bed. Her side still smelled like vanilla and secrets. And I hated that I missed her. Even now. Even after everything. But missing someone doesn't mean you want them back. It just means they mattered. And that's what made it hurt the most. The fallout hit faster than I expected. By the weekend, the neighborhood group chat was in flames. People who never spoke to me before were suddenly tagging my name, some with sympathy, others pretending to be shocked even though they'd probably known. Kayla had always loved attention. I guess this was her encore. The neighborhood scandal no one could shut up about. Zach and Ethan, gone. Ghosted me. Left the gym. Their cars disappeared from their usual driveways like cowards skipping town. Ethan's fiancée, Jenna, texted me one word. "Thank you." That was it. No follow-up. No emojis. But it told me everything. I heard through the grapevine that she kicked him out the same night I dropped off the flyer. Good. Kayla, on the other hand, decided to go full villain. I got an email from her 2 days after she moved out. "I want to see the girls. I'm their mother. You can't keep them from me." No apology. No remorse. Just demands. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent the email straight to Mark, who was already drafting an emergency custody petition. He told me to document everything, so I started keeping a log. Every call, every message, every time she popped up outside the school like she still belonged in this family. Then she did the unthinkable. She showed up to our daughter Ava's ballet recital with Ryan, one of the other men from the folder. Sat right in the front row, legs crossed. Eyes locked on me the whole time like she wanted me to break. I didn't, but Ava saw her. After the show, she tugged my sleeve and asked, "Why did mommy bring a new daddy?" I swallowed my fury like poison, bent down and kissed her forehead. "There's only one daddy, sweetheart," I whispered. "You remember that." I could see the confusion in her eyes, the hurt. And in that moment, I knew this wasn't just my battle anymore. This was war. And the battleground was my daughter's hearts. The next morning, I got a call from Kayla's mother, Linda, a woman who once told me I wasn't ambitious enough for her daughter. She was crying. "I don't know who she is anymore," she said. "Josh, I'm so sorry." That hit harder than I expected. If Linda was apologizing, Hell had officially frozen over. But I didn't want apologies. I wanted peace. I wanted my girls to grow up in a house without lies slithering through the air. I wanted to rebuild, not just the structure of my life, but myself. So I took action. I started therapy. Yeah, I know, not the tough guy move, right? But I was drowning in fury, confusion, grief, and the therapist, Maya, was the first person who didn't look at me like I was a headline. She listened, really listened, and she said something that stuck with me. You're not healing from losing her. You're healing from the illusion you lived in. That hit me like a sledgehammer. I'd been mourning a lie. The real Kayla? She'd revealed herself, and I hated what I saw. But the fantasy version of her? The one I built in my mind over the years. That's who I was grieving. And once I realized that, I started to let her go, piece by piece. I took down the wedding photos, boxed up her clothes, gave away the gifts she'd bought me over the years. I even deleted our Spotify playlist, because every time that stupid John Mayer song played, it made my stomach twist. I was burning the ghosts. Because the man I used to be, he was gone. And the man I was becoming, he didn't take betrayal lying down. They say time heals all wounds, but whoever said that never had to explain to their kids why mommy doesn't come home anymore. It had been a few weeks since Kayla left. The house was quieter, but not peaceful. Every corner still whispered her name, her perfume on the bedsheets, her favorite mug sitting untouched, the notes she used to leave me on the fridge, now yellowing under a magnet. I didn't throw them away. Not yet. Maybe I needed the reminder of how deep the lie had gone. But I wasn't standing still anymore. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise, got the girls ready, packed lunches, did their hair. I started showing up early to their school events, talking to other parents, building a new routine, one where I wasn't just Kayla's husband or the guy who got publicly humiliated. I was dad, and I was trying. Some days were easier. Some days felt like dragging my soul across broken glass. But one moment made it all worth it. It was a Thursday afternoon. I picked up Emma, our youngest, from preschool. She climbed into the back seat, pulled off her little backpack, and said, "Daddy, today we drew heroes." I drew you. I nearly broke. She held up this messy crayon drawing, stick figure me with a giant smile and a cape. I had tears in my eyes before I pulled out of the parking lot. Not because of the drawing, but because that tiny kid still saw me as her protector, even after the storm Kayla unleashed. That's when I realized something important. Kayla didn't just cheat on me. She tried to rewrite the story, tried to make me the footnote in my own life. But I wasn't just a chapter in her book. She was just the wrong character in mine. The next big move came when I changed the locks. She showed up 2 days later, pounding on the front door like the house still belonged to her. The girls were with my sister, thank God, because what happened next would have scarred them. I opened the door and stood there calm. She looked like hell, sunglasses covering tired eyes, lips dry, hair a mess. "You locked me out?" she hissed. "I gave you a key to a life you burned down," I said. "You don't get to walk back in like nothing happened. I want to see the girls. You'll see them, but not here, and not on your terms." She started crying then, crocodile tears, pouring like a faucet she could twist on and off at will. "Josh, please. I made mistakes. Mistakes are forgetting an anniversary," I snapped. "Not sleeping with my best friends and parading it in front of our kids." She tried to push past me. I blocked her. "Try it," I said, "and I'll call the cops. I've got everything documented. You really want to fight this in court?" That shut her down. She took a shaky step back, pulled off her sunglasses, and for the first time, she looked small, weak, like the pedestal I once put her on had finally crumbled. "I didn't think you'd ever stop loving me," she whispered. I stared at her. "I didn't," I said. "You just made sure I couldn't anymore." She walked away without another word. And as I watched her get into a car I didn't recognize, probably another disposable boyfriend, I felt a strange sense of closure wash over me. Like something had finally ended. Not with fire, not with screaming, just with silence. I didn't slam the door. I just closed it gently. Because from that moment on, she was no longer part of my home. The silence after she left felt different this time. Not empty, but clean. Like the air had finally cleared after a long, choking storm. For the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe without second-guessing every moment, every memory. The weight of her, the lies, the manipulation, it was starting to lift. But freedom, I realized, doesn't come wrapped in joy. It comes in pieces. Quiet mornings. A house where nothing gets slammed. No more fake apologies. Just space. Real, honest space. The girls adjusted faster than I did. Emma started sleeping through the night again. Ava stopped asking when mommy would come home. I think, deep down, they already understood. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. They feel things. They sense who's safe and who's not. One night, while brushing Ava's hair, she looked at me through the mirror and asked, "Is mommy gone forever?" I paused. "She won't live here anymore, sweetheart. But she still loves us, right?" I smiled softly. "Yes, in her own way. But some people, they don't know how to love without hurting others." She didn't say anything after that, just nodded and leaned into me. And that's when I knew what had to be done. The divorce papers were ready. All I had to do was sign them. I'd been putting it off for weeks, not out of hope, but habit. Ending a marriage, even a toxic one, feels like cutting off a limb. You keep telling yourself maybe it'll heal, maybe it'll work again. But some things don't heal, they just rot. I opened the manila envelope and stared at the first page. Joshua Michael Cooper versus Kayla and Cooper. It looked clinical, cold, like we were just two names on paper, not a decade of memories. I picked up the pen and hesitated, not because I still loved her, but because this was it. The final page. And then I thought about that party. About her walking out with Zach and Ethan. About the smirk. They'll take care of me now. And our daughters? They'll have two new fathers to look up to. Those words had branded themselves into my memory. They weren't a slip. They were a weapon. She wanted to hurt me. Wanted to humiliate me in front of everyone. And she did. But she forgot one thing. I get to choose how the story ends. I signed the papers. Just like that, the marriage was over. Legally, at least. Emotionally, it had died long ago. I dropped the envelope off at Mark's office and walked out into the sun. It was a normal day, blue skies, light breeze, but everything looked sharper, more alive. I wasn't a broken man anymore. I wasn't a victim. I was just the guy who'd been to hell and made it back with his soul still intact. I started focusing on the future. For the girls. For me. I enrolled in a weekend carpentry class. Something about working with my hands, building instead of breaking, made me feel grounded. I started going to the gym again, not out of revenge, not to impress anyone, but because it made me feel like me again. I reconnected with old friends. The real ones, people who didn't whisper behind my back or sleep with my wife. We laughed. We drank. We talked about things that didn't involve betrayal. Life started to grow back. It wasn't perfect. Some nights I still woke up sweating, dreaming she was back in the house. Some mornings I stared at her old coffee mug and felt that strange ache of betrayal again. But the pain was no longer screaming. It was just background noise. The worst was behind me. And what lay ahead? That was mine to decide. It's strange how betrayal, once it settles, becomes less about the person who hurt you and more about the person you become because of it. I used to replay that party moment in my head like a scene from a horror film I couldn't stop watching. Her walking out, arm in arm with Zach and Ethan, that venomous smirk on her face, and those words that crushed every ounce of trust one had left. They'll take care of me now. And our daughters? They'll have two new fathers to look up to. Those words used to tear me apart. Now, they just sound pathetic. Like a desperate woman trying to rewrite her failure into something bold. A performance, not a truth. And once you see it for what it is, you stop bleeding from it. The thing about pain is it forces you to choose. You either let it hollow you out, or you let it carve room for something stronger. I chose the second. Now, every morning when I wake up, the house isn't haunted anymore. The silence isn't sad. It's peaceful. The walls aren't whispering reminders of betrayal. They're holding the laughter of two little girls who think their dad can do anything. That's my real legacy. People ask sometimes, coworkers, even a couple friends, how I'm doing. I give them the short version. It was rough, but I made it through. But if I'm being honest, I didn't just survive Kayla. I found myself in the ruins she left behind. I stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't. A people pleaser, a peacekeeper, the nice guy who swallows pain with a smile. I became someone real, raw, honest, and yeah, a little rough around the edges, but stronger. I also learned things I wish I hadn't had to learn. Like how betrayal never starts with the moment someone climbs into another bed. It starts with the little lies. The emotional distance. The way they stop laughing at your jokes. How they pull away when you reach for their hand. It's death by 1,000 cuts. You just don't notice you're bleeding until it's too late. But the biggest lesson? Never ignore your gut. I knew something was wrong months before that party. I felt it. Her phone always flipped screen down. The sudden interest in late-night workouts. The way she talked about me in past tense. I saw it. I just didn't want to believe it. Belief doesn't change truth. Now I see clearly. Kayla wasn't just a bad partner. She was a master manipulator. She used love like currency, loyalty like a leash. And when she no longer needed me, she tossed me aside like used paper. But that's not a reflection of me. It's a mirror of who she really is. I feel bad for the next guy. Honestly. Because no matter how many gym bodies or shiny cars she chases, she'll always be the same empty woman searching for validation in all the wrong places. Me? I'm done searching. I've got 2 daughters who remind me every day that I matter, that I'm enough. That love, when real, doesn't cheat or lie or humiliate you at a party full of friends. It holds you up, builds you, stays. And if there's anyone reading this, anyone who's been broken the way I was, here's what I'd tell you. You will survive. You will get angry. You'll feel like your insides are being scraped out with a spoon. You'll question everything. And then one day, you'll wake up and realize the worst already happened. And you're still standing. That's the beginning of you. Not them. Not the lie. Not the betrayal. You. Because the moment you stop bleeding for someone who never deserved your heart, that's when you start healing. That's when you finally start living. She threw her wedding ring at my chest with a smirk like she was tossing away a candy wrapper. The sound of it hitting the marble floor echoed louder than her words. You're a nobody, Caleb. A joke. Look at you, standing here like a wounded puppy. I should have left you years ago. And then they laughed. Her lover, his friends, even my wife's so-called girlfriends. All of them. Laughing. Pointing. One even took a video. 12 minutes later, paramedics were kneeling in a pool of blood, struggling to keep her lover breathing, while another screamed into his radio for backup. And me? I was walking out of our joint account's final screen. Transfer complete. $482,000. But let's rewind, because to truly understand how I got to that moment, you need to know what it took to break a man who once believed in forever. Her name is Madison. We met during senior year at UCLA. She had that look in her eyes, like she was always 3 steps ahead, like the world was hers and she was bored of it already. I thought I was the lucky one when she said yes. I didn't see the warning signs back then. Nobody does. Not until it's too late. We've been married 6 years. The first 3? Honestly good. The kind of good where you come home, she hugs you from behind, and the world feels okay. But then her job at the marketing firm picked up. That's when things started to shift. She stopped laughing at my jokes. Stopped touching me. Stopped seeing me. You'll laugh when I tell you what finally gave her away. It wasn't a lipstick stain. It wasn't a whisper in the night. It was her perfume. She had this thing for sandalwood and citrus. But she started smelling like something else. Muskio. Like a man's cologne that clung to her skin longer than it should. The first time I noticed, I told myself she must have brushed past someone in the elevator. The second time, I stood in the hallway and inhaled the scent off her coat for a full minute. It wasn't mine. I don't wear anything that expensive. Then came the gym bag. It was sitting by the door one morning. I don't go through her stuff, not unless something feels wrong. That morning, it did. Inside, buried under her gym leggings, was a hotel card key. Room 327, the Pendleton. That was the same day she told me she had yoga after work. I waited. I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I watched. I followed her that Friday. She didn't see me behind the black SUV. Didn't see me park across the street from the Pendleton. I watched her walk in, laughing, in heels she hadn't worn for me in over a year. She was with someone. A man. Tall. Confident. Tan. Younger. I sat in that car and told myself, don't assume. Maybe it's work. But when they didn't come back out after an hour, when I saw the room number on the app, when I saw the 2 of them walk out 3 hours later with messy hair and post-fake smiles, that was the first time in years I felt like something inside me died. I drove home in silence. And I started planning. Not revenge. Not yet. Something deeper. I started collecting pieces. Passwords. Statements. I'd handled the finances. She was careless. She trusted me too much. A week later, she invited me to a party. Her friends were all there. The same women who posted thirst traps for attention and gossiped in DMs all day. I recognized the man instantly, her lover. His name was Derek. Real estate douchebag. Slick hair. Fake tan. That type. That night, she got bold. Maybe the wine. Maybe the fact that I still hadn't confronted her. She stood in the middle of that living room, handed me her ring, and threw it at me like it meant nothing. You think I'm scared of you, Caleb? You think I owe you a damn thing? That's when Derek whispered to her, just do it. And she said it. You're a nobody. A loser. They all know it. Everyone's just been too polite to say it out loud. The laughter followed like thunder. I think one of them even clapped. I didn't say a word. Just stood there, holding the ring like it burned my hand. Then I walked out. 12 minutes later, screams filled the neighborhood. Sirens. Red lights flashing against windows. Broken glass. Shattered egos. And me? I was sitting in my car, watching the last digit of our savings drop into a cold, empty crypto wallet. This was only the beginning. When the police showed up, I was still parked across the street. The flashing lights painted the windshield red and blue, like a siren's lullaby. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Just watched the chaos unfold through the glass like I was watching someone else's nightmare. They didn't notice me. Not at first. All the attention was on the man writhing on the floor, Derek, gasping, blood soaking through his designer shirt. Madison was kneeling beside him, screaming like she cared, her fake nails clawing at his chest like that was going to restart his heart. Her friends? They were too drunk or too stunned to process what was happening. I knew exactly how long the paramedics would take. I had researched response times in our zip code. 10 to 12 minutes. I had 12, and I used every one of them. See, while they were busy drinking and laughing at me, I slipped into the upstairs guest room. Madison's laptop was there, unlocked, as always. She never bothered with passwords around me. I was safe. I was dull. I was invisible. She had the bank tab still open. One click to the joint account. Two-factor authentication? Already logged in. I transferred every last cent into a private account I had opened under a different name 3 weeks ago. Took screenshots. Emailed them to myself. Then I wiped the browsing history and left the laptop just how I found it. By the time I was back outside, Derek was already coughing blood into someone's hands. I watched Madison hold his face, whisper something like, "Don't die on me, baby." I almost laughed. She used to call me that. Until she stopped calling me anything at all. A cop came over to knock on my window, but I rolled it down first. "You live here?" he asked. "No. I just watched someone die here." His face twitched. He wasn't ready for that. "I'm gonna need you to step out of the vehicle, sir." I did. Calmly. Quietly. Hands out. I wanted him to see. I wasn't running. I had nothing to hide. They took me down to the station. Not in cuffs. Not yet. Just questions. What did I see? Why was I parked across from the house? Did I know the victim? I answered like a man who had nothing left to lose. I know him. He's sleeping with my wife. He told her to throw her ring at me tonight in front of a crowd. She did. They all laughed. That's when I left. Then I heard the screaming. They kept me in a holding room for 2 hours. Didn't charge me. Didn't apologize either. Just let me sit there while the clock ticked. When they finally let me go, I walked out into the night with nothing but my phone, my wallet, and the bitter weight of silence. It felt heavier than anger. I checked my balance. The funds were there. Safe. Tucked away. Every dime I had ever earned. Saved. Fought for, now mine again. Madison called 26 times that night. I let everyone ring out. Then she started texting. "Where are you? You ruined everything. He's in surgery because of you. If he dies, you're done. You took the money?" Her last message? "You'll regret this." I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed one word back. No. I didn't regret a thing. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't even close to finished. This was just chapter 1. Tomorrow, I'd send the photos. The recordings. The screenshots of her little voice notes to Derek about making sure Caleb signs the house over soon. The email she wrote to her lawyer. The prenup she thought I forgot about. I'd found it 2 nights ago in the safe. The one she left open in a hurry. It was still valid. Still ironclad. And it said, clear as day, in the event of infidelity by the wife, all shared assets revert to the husband. Funny how karma moves faster than a paramedic. And Madison? She had no idea that her next betrayal would be the one that burned her whole world down. The next morning, I stood in front of the house we once called home, watching movers load boxes into a truck. Not her stuff, mine. I had arranged everything at 3 a.m., called a service, paid in advance. I wasn't going to fight for furniture, not anymore. Let her keep the marble dining table she never let us use, the gold-framed mirror she bought to match her aesthetic. All of it. A kingdom of shallow things. What mattered was the house. And thanks to that prenup, it was mine. She didn't show up until noon. I heard her heels before I saw her, those sharp, click-clack stomps like she wanted the earth to know she was angry. Madison stormed across the driveway, messy bun, sunglasses, and rage pouring off her like perfume. "What the hell are you doing?" she snapped. I didn't answer. Just nodded to the movers. "Keep going. You think you can just take everything? After what you pulled? Derek's still in the ICU. You're lucky the cops didn't arrest you." I turned, finally meeting her eyes. There was no fear in mine, just a calm that scared her more than yelling ever could. "I didn't touch him," I said. "But someone did. And they did it after you humiliated your husband in front of 20 people. Don't expect sympathy." Her jaw clenched, but she pivoted to her favorite weapon, sarcasm. "Oh, look at you, finally pretending to be a man. What's the plan, Caleb? Run away with your big fat moral victory? You think anyone's gonna pity you? You're a nobody. Always have been." She stepped closer, like she wanted to get under my skin. Her breath reeked of wine. "Middle of the day. Figures. You always acted like this boring little accountant, pretending you're so noble. But let's be real, you were just a placeholder until someone better came along. You were safe. And I got bored." Each word was like acid. She wanted to make me crack. She needed me to yell, to break, to show emotion so she could twist it into another reason why she was the victim. But I didn't give her that. I opened the folder in my hands and handed her a printed sheet. It was the prenup. The clause. Highlighted in yellow. She read it. Laughed. "Oh, you think this'll hold up in court?" I handed her another paper. "My lawyer's email response." "It will." She stopped laughing. "That's not fair," she said, suddenly smaller. "That was years ago. We were different people." "Exactly," I said. "You were faithful then." Her phone buzzed in her hand. Another call from a hospital. She silenced it. Her fake concern was cracking. Now there was panic. She wasn't used to losing. "Not like this. You don't get to destroy me," she hissed. "You already destroyed yourself. I'm just letting gravity finish the job." She looked around, noticed one of the movers staring. She put her glasses back on, straightened her spine. "This isn't over, Caleb." "It is," I said. "For you." "For me?" "It just started." Then I turned and walked back inside. Not because I needed to, but because she needed to see me choose peace over her. That was the final blow. By nightfall, she was gone. I got a text from her sister. "She's staying with me tonight. You didn't have to be so cruel." I didn't reply. They all knew. No one just accidentally cheats for 6 months. No one accidentally invites their husband to a party just to humiliate him in front of their lover. But the real twist came 3 days later. I got a call from a restricted number. "Mr. Callahan?" "Yes. This is Officer Rhodes. We're following up on an incident that occurred last Saturday night. We'd like to ask you a few more questions." I sighed. "Sure. Is Derek pressing charges?" A pause. Then, "No. He's dead." I didn't breathe for a second. "Dead?" "We're not saying you're a suspect. But someone at the scene mentioned a possible altercation prior to your departure. We'd like your full cooperation." Of course they would. And they'd get it. I had nothing to hide. I didn't touch him. I never laid a finger on the guy. But someone did. And now the game was darker than I'd planned. I hung up and sat in the silence of my new apartment. No furniture yet. Just a laptop, a mattress on the floor, and a black folder with everything she thought I'd never find. She wanted war. She had no idea how far I was willing to take it. The detective came the next morning. Not in uniform, plain clothes, casual, trying to play the good cop routine. He introduced himself as Detective Rhodes, same name from the call. Tall guy, maybe mid-40s, polite voice, but with eyes that looked through you. "Mind if we talk inside?" he asked. I opened the door wider and let him in. Still no furniture. Just one chair, one lamp, and an unopened bottle of bourbon on the counter. The place looked more like a waiting room than a home. He sat without asking. "I won't take much of your time," he said. "Just trying to understand the timeline. You were at your wife's gathering last Saturday." "Ex-wife," I corrected. "And yes, she hasn't filed yet. She will." He nodded slowly, pulling out a small notepad. "Witnesses say there was a heated exchange. She threw her wedding ring at you?" I smiled bitterly. "Yeah, right before she called me a nobody in front of her new boy toy and an audience. And then you left." "I did." "Did you return?" "No. I went in my car and watched the circus." He didn't flinch. "Several people say Derek received a call shortly after you left." He stepped outside. 10 minutes later, someone found him near the side of the house. Head trauma. Blunt force. Died later that night. I let that hang in the air. I didn't call him, I said. Mind if we check your phone? I handed it over. He looked through the recent calls, messages. His brow arched once, slightly. No communication between you and Derek? None. You mind if we pull location data? I shrugged. You'll see I sat in my car until the paramedics arrived. My dashcam caught it too. His eyes flicked up. Dashcam? I handed him the USB I'd already pulled that morning. I came prepared. Let them try. He leaned back, nodded. All right. You seem like a man with nothing to hide. I have nothing left to lose. He stood. One last thing. Your wife, your ex, claims you were embezzling funds from the joint account. That the money you moved was hers. I laughed once, cold and sharp. She can claim whatever she wants. But that prenup says otherwise. Want a copy? I've seen it. Of course he had. She must have run to the police crying financial abuse after realizing she was broke and Derek was dead. I'm not your guy, I said. Maybe not. He paused at the door. But I don't think this ends with Derek. And then he left. That night, I didn't sleep. Not out of guilt. Not out of fear. I didn't kill Derek, but I wasn't mourning him either. He was just the first to fall. What kept me awake was the plan. Madison thought she could break me publicly and walk away with a new life, richer and freer. But all she did was expose her own rotted core in front of a crowd. I'd been too slow before. I wouldn't make that mistake again. She still had connections, friends, family, allies who believed her lies. So I started breaking them. Quietly. I sent Madison's sister a package the next morning. A flash drive. No return address. Just a handwritten note. Still think she's innocent? On that drive, audio from Madison's phone, one she thought she deleted. Voice memos bragging to her friends about how she manipulated Derek, how she was only with him to make me jealous enough to cave on the house. How she laughed at the idea of Caleb still loving me like a dog. Pathetic. One by one, I sent out those drives. To her boss. To her parents. To the mutual friend who told me to move on. Within days, her phone calls changed. Less anger, more begging. Caleb, we need to talk. Caleb, people are turning on me. What the hell did you do? Please. Just stop. I didn't reply. I was done speaking to her directly. She made her choice when she threw that ring at me and let them all laugh. She thought that moment made her powerful. But humiliation is short-lived. Reputation? That dies slow. The first real crack came from her job. Madison worked at a boutique PR firm. Image was everything there. The kind of place where rumors are currency and perception outranks truth. I knew exactly how to hit it. I emailed a compilation of her private recordings to their HR inbox from a burner address. Nothing illegal. No threats. Just her own words. Her mocking Derek's clients, calling her coworkers overpaid interns with handbags, laughing about exploiting soft men like me for assets. Attached to it all? Screenshots from her work email, the ones where she forwarded confidential decks to her lover, trying to make him look smart in front of investors. Within 48 hours, she was placed on temporary leave. She called 12 times that day. I didn't pick up. She left a voicemail, half threats, half sobbing. You're destroying my life, Caleb. This is sick. You think you're winning? You're just making yourself look insane. No one's ever going to want you after this. She didn't understand yet. This wasn't about winning. I'd already lost everything that mattered. Now it was about making sure she couldn't twist my downfall into her fairy tale. The next domino was her friend Rachel. Rachel had been the loudest laugher that night at the party. The one who filmed the ring toss. The one who screamed, "Tell him, Maddie. Say it louder," when Madison called me a nobody. So I sent Rachel a letter. Inside, a printed transcript from Madison's deleted texts pulled from a backup she didn't know I still had access to. In it, Madison said, "Rachel's man is so easy to lead. I could snap my fingers and he'd be in my bed. Should I test it? Petty? Yes, but effective." Rachel ghosted her by the end of the week. And Madison? She went nuclear. She posted a long Instagram story, pretending to cry, claiming she was the victim of a targeted hate campaign from a man with control issues. She used words like abuse and gaslighting. She painted me as unstable, desperate, vindictive. The comments came in fast. "Stay strong, girl. Men can't handle rejection. Protect your peace." But that didn't last long. One of the people I sent the flash drive to? A local blogger. The kind who lives for exposed scandals, especially ones involving women who build their brand on female empowerment. She uploaded a full video breakdown, The Rise and Fall of Madison Callahan. Clips. Quotes. Side-by-side receipts. She didn't have to lie, the truth was damning enough. By the time I saw Madison next, she looked like someone had wrung her out and left her to dry in the sun. Thin, pale, cracked makeup. She waited outside my gym. Caught me coming out after my set. I didn't stop walking. "Caleb," she said. I didn't look at her. "Please just stop this. You made your point. I lost my job. Derek's dead. Everyone thinks I'm some manipulative psychopath." I paused only for a second. Just enough to say, "That's because you are." She grabbed my arm. "What do you want from me?" I turned to her, slowly. "Nothing. That's the part you don't get. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to live with what you are, without anyone left to lie to." She blinked. "Tried again. You're not innocent either." I smiled. "No, I'm not. But I'm free." Then I walked away. That night, I got a final message from her. A long paragraph. Rambling. Unstable. "You broke something in me. I hope you're proud. You wanted war? You won. There's nothing left to take. I'm done fighting. I'm done pretending. I hope you rot alone." I stared at it for a while. Not out of anger. Just numbness. There was a time I would have cried reading that. Would have blamed myself. Would have begged her to explain. No? I deleted it. No reply. No screenshot. No record. She didn't deserve to live in my mind anymore. 2 weeks passed without a word. It was eerie at first, the silence. No messages, no random encounters, no one popping out of nowhere to defend her. Madison vanished from social media. Her friends went quiet. Even the apartment she fled to, her sister's, was listed for rent now. She was shedding her life like a snake's skin, trying to crawl away unseen. But the world doesn't forget that fast. One morning, I got a call from my bank. "Routine security check," they said. "There's been an attempt to access your private account," the voice on the line said. Same last name, flagged because of shared previous activity. Of course, she was desperate. She thought I'd let my guard down. That maybe I was finished. That maybe, just maybe, I still had a soft spot for her. She didn't know me anymore. I locked the account down with triple authentication. Called my lawyer. Sent him every new detail. He already had an open case preparing for litigation. We weren't just ending the marriage. We were pursuing damages. And with everything she'd done, public slander, attempted fraud, breach of prenup, I had more leverage than she could ever afford to ignore. I wasn't going to bleed her dry. I just wanted her exposed. That night, I sat alone in my kitchen. No music, no phone. Just the hum of the fridge and the dull ache behind my eyes. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even bitter. I was tired. I stared at the ring box. I had found it in my nightstand drawer a few days earlier, her original ring. The one I bought with 3 months of savings, back when love meant sacrifice, not strategy. She threw it at me like it meant nothing. I thought about throwing it away. But then I remembered something her father said at our wedding, back when we were still pretending we'd last forever. Love is a promise made by fools and kept by men who don't know how to give up. Back then, I thought he was being sentimental. Now I realize he was warning me. That ring didn't represent love anymore. It represented a version of me I had buried. The man who believed her. The man who apologized for things she did. The man who watched himself rot for someone else's entertainment. I walked to the balcony and threw the ring into the night. Watched it vanish into the dark. I didn't care where it landed. The point was, it was gone. Like her. Like who I used to be. 3 days later, I got another message. This time, from a number I didn't recognize. "You think you're free, Caleb. But you just made enemies with people you shouldn't have. Derek had friends. Real ones. You should watch your back." I didn't reply. I just forwarded it to the detective. Rhodes called that evening. "Don't worry," he said. "We're tracking the source. If she's behind this too, it won't go well for her." But something in his voice gave me pause. "You think it's real?" I asked. "Or just another scare tactic?" He hesitated. "I think she's spiraling. And desperate people tend to overestimate their options." I hung up and sat in the dark, thinking. Not out of fear, but calculation. Madison wasn't done. She didn't know how to lose quietly. And when someone like that runs out of lies, they turn to fire. The fire came 3 nights later. It started small, just a smell at first. Burning plastic. Something faint in the hallway of my apartment building. I opened the door and saw smoke curling from the stairwell. Instinct kicked in fast. I grabbed my laptop, wallet, phone. That was it. No suitcase. No nostalgia. Just survival. By the time I got outside, Flames were licking the second-floor windows. My unit. Mine. Neighbors stood in clusters on the lawn, barefoot and confused. Sirens screamed in the distance. I didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stood there, staring at the building as orange swallowed it whole. And in that moment, I knew. She did it. Not personally. Madison wasn't stupid. But she had whispered to the wrong person, cried to the right scumbag, and set something in motion she thought would scare me into silence. Instead, it hardened everything. The police asked questions. I gave them everything. The threats, the messages, the history. They took notes. One of them said arson. Another said possible retaliation. I didn't argue. I just gave them the list of names I had, all linked to Derek. All the friends who laughed at me at that party. They were running out of places to hide, and I was done playing defense. I checked into a hotel that night, still smelling like smoke, eyes raw. My phone buzzed around midnight. No name. Just another blocked number. Hope the flames got your attention, Caleb. Next time, it won't be your apartment. I read it twice. Then I screen captured it, saved it to my cloud, and sent it directly to Rhodes. An hour later, he called me. Voice tense. This isn't just about Madison anymore, he said. You're in the middle of something bigger. I know, I said. I've been in the middle of it for years. I just didn't realize until she laughed in my face. Rhodes exhaled hard. You want protection? No, I said. I want it finished. I meant that. The next morning, I took a cab to a cafe on the edge of town. Quiet place. I'd been texting with someone I knew could help, someone from college, now a forensic accountant. The kind of guy who saw through lies faster than anyone. I handed him a USB. What's this? He asked. Proof she's broke. And desperate. I want to know what she's planning next. He plugged it into his laptop, eyebrows raised as he scrolled. She sold her car 2 days ago, he said. Used the money to pay off a credit card. She's got about $400 in liquid cash. Maxed out. No assets left. What about Derek's estate? Contested. His parents are fighting for it. She was never married to him, remember? She gets nothing. So this was it. The queen had burned her castle down, thinking it would smoke me out. But now she was the one with no throne. Later that night, I finally answered her call. Her voice was sharp, hollow, shaking. What do you want from me, Caleb? She asked. I didn't respond. Just say it. You want me to beg? You want me to admit I ruined everything? Fine. I did. Happy now? I let the silence stretch. Derek's dead. My career's gone. My parents disowned me. You win. No, I finally said. Not yet. Winning would mean I forget you ever existed. She started crying. Or pretending to. I couldn't tell anymore. The line between her pain and performance had blurred beyond recognition. I loved you once, she whispered. No. You loved control. You loved the mirror version of me you could bend into shape. The real me? You never wanted him. You just didn't think I'd learn to stand without you. And then I hung up. Not in rage. Not in triumph. Just clarity. A week passed. No more calls. No new threats. Just quiet. Almost unnatural. I moved into a new apartment, smaller, simpler, but mine. No traces of her. No perfume clinging to the furniture. No fake smiles waiting at the door. Just peace. And silence, real silence. The kind that doesn't make you anxious. The kind that lets you breathe without permission. I'd spent so long reacting to her chaos that I forgot what it felt like to live without walking on eggshells. Without double-checking every word, every look, every text. Madison didn't reach out again. Maybe she finally realized the world she'd built on lies had collapsed. Maybe she found someone else to manipulate. Or maybe, for the first time, she was forced to sit in the wreckage of her own making. I didn't care. I stopped checking her socials. Blocked her number completely. Even deleted the hidden folder where I stored every screenshot, every file, every note from the war she started. I didn't need it anymore. It was over. One night, I found myself walking through a park alone. Not the dramatic kind of walk, not some metaphor for healing. Just a normal walk. Cold air. Quiet thoughts. That was the first moment I realized I wasn't thinking about her. She didn't live in my head anymore. And that, I think, was the real revenge. Not the money. Not the destroyed image. Not the public unraveling. But the fact that I got myself back. The version of me that smiled without second-guessing it. The man who didn't need to justify his pain or water down his instincts. The man she tried to erase with guilt, silence, and shame. He was still here. Older. Smarter. Sharper. And completely done with fairy tales. to anyone reading this or living this. If she mocks you in front of others, throws her ring at you and laughs while clinging to another man's arm, walk away. Quietly, calmly. Then build the kind of life she'll never be allowed to step into again. Because you don't have to scream to win. Sometimes, walking away is the loudest thing you'll ever do. And if she ever calls again, don't answer. Let the silence do the talking.